This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 822 for the week of Monday, June 17th, 2024. My name is Ed, and Steve and Alex will be joining us both, or will be both joining us a little bit later. But this week, starting out, we have our very special guest, the translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump and Manga Plus, Stephen Paul, is here with us.
Hey, yeah, I heard that if I was not here to explain myself this week, that there would be riots. So don't worry. I'll explain it all.
There'll be riots anyway, I think.
Probably.
We can't command Oda to appear, so yeah.
Explain himself.
Yeah. So, you're interpreting him just like we are, but you're a little closer to the source.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. All right, and our special guest this week, first, a first-time guest, the host of the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast, Victoria is here. Welcome, Victoria.
Hey, happy to be here. I talk about Sailor Moon all the time, so I'm really happy to talk about my other favorite anime, which is One Piece.
Fantastic.
Nice.
And also a returning champion after 4 or 5 years since our last appearance on the podcast, game developer Allen Ortega is here.
Hey, yeah, it's been a while. COVID happened. A lot of stuff happened. I'm glad we're all still here to, I swear, One Piece sometimes is the thing holding me together to not keel over dead some days.
Yeah.
I have to see how this plays out.
It inspires joy. And this week we'll have a manga recap of chapter 1117A. And we also might have an anime recap of episode 1108, Incomprehensible, the Seraphim's Rebellion. We'll also have some piece together, take your questions, your comments, and your theories. But before all that, just want to say thank you to Victoria and Alan for coming on. And Victoria, just so this is your first time on the show, so we always like to get people's origin story with One Piece, or how they first got into the series, or what it sort of means to them, sort of initially at the outset. And so what's your origin story with One Piece? Where'd you first get into it?
Yeah, so my friend, much like many people, was trying to convince me to watch it for a while, and I was like, no, no, no. And then finally I decided to give it a chance this was 2010. And then just immediately got through Alabasta and was like, I love this show.
Yeah.
Like many people, like once they put the fist up, I was like, with the X, I was like, I'm sold. I'm in this. Like, it was my Facebook banner to show how far back this was. And so then just kind of been watching it off and on ever since then. I went through like large binges of the show, just watching it in like large pieces, and like taking a break, coming back to it, taking a break, coming back to it. And then I actually finally caught up at the end of 2022. And so and then I've been struggling with everyone else, watching week to week ever since then.
So like after such a long period of, getting through it in blocks and coming back to it and stopping and coming back to it, now finally being a week to week reader, how are you finding that experience? It's different than binging through it.
It's so different. It's tough because like sometimes like it's great like with this, because I'm just like, all right, there's like, it's so tough because there's so many like cliffhangers almost, where it's like, oh, I gotta wait a week for this, where I'm so used to just like, all right, next episode.
Well, actually, part of it that's harder is like, oh, you gotta wait 2, maybe 3 weeks for this.
Yeah, that's
right.
the problem now.
Yeah. Over the last few years.
Right. And so, but yeah, it's still so good. I think too, just like with the anime, sometimes like when it gets slower, it was harder to watch, where I'm just like, that's kind of when I want to take the breaks. And now like watching week to week, that kind of makes it a little bit even harder, but at least like it kind of spaces it out a little bit. So it's kind of like, oh, I can get in like 20 minutes or 15 minutes a week now, rather than like binging it where I'm like, oh, like I need to get through this part so I can get back to the good parts.
Right.
Did you mostly watch it through the anime, or did you read the manga too? What was your preferred
mostly
source?
The anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I didn't, until I caught up is when I switched to the manga, because then I was like, well, now I need to know what's happening. Yeah. And then like now like the spoilers mean something to me, because that's the other thing with One Piece. I feel like when you're so far behind, sometimes you hear stuff and it's like, well, I don't even know what that is. Like I don't even know who Joy Boy is. I'm like, that means nothing to me. Right. And so, but then when it got to a point where I'm so close, I'm like, oh, these spoilers mean something to me now. So I actually like can't, like I have to catch up or else I'm gonna get spoiled. And like things are happening now where we're kind of like towards the end ish, sort of, kind of, sort of. So
Mhm.
I'm like, things it's getting real. So I need to need to catch up.
Right.
What did you think of the anime when they got to Wano, and it was like it really kind of changed, didn't it?
Yeah, I was also like most people like, is this the same show? Because I remember a lot of people were
Yeah.
saying that. It was gorgeous though, like the
Mhm.
music, the kimonos.
Mhm.
It definitely just threw me off, but I loved it eventually when I found it. It was like, okay, I see where this is going, but it was definitely threw me off a little bit at first.
I've
Mhm.
been going back and rewatching Whole Cake Island in the anime, or just as it's been coming out with the dub Blu-rays, and it just feels like a completely different series than what's going on right now with some of the crazy animation that they do. Now,
Mhm.
you also host a Sailor Moon. Obviously, you host the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast, and I just want to
Yeah.
like sort of where did you what inspired you to start to start doing a podcast about Sailor Moon? It's been a show, a lot of people got into it back in the 90s when it first came out on US TV, but
Mhm.
what's sort of your inspiration of doing a podcast about it now?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been a fan of Sailor Moon for forever, like many people, since it started on Toonami. And then just over the years, like I've just been a huge fan, and wanted to. I Because I'm a huge fan, I've kind of seen other people who are fans of it. So
Mhm.
I kind of caught into like Sweetie the rapper is a fan. I was like, oh, she's a fan of Sailor Moon, like Sasha Banks, who now goes by Mercedes Monet, the
There you
wrestler. I'm
go.
like,
Yeah.
she's a Sailor Moon fan. And so just kind of like picking up, and some of the book authors I read are also Sailor Moon fans. So just kind of like, oh, like you're one too, you're one too.
Nice. Yeah.
And then just kind of like piecing that all together. And then finally, I originally wanted to do a Magical Girls podcast because I feel like the genre is so like vast, but like largely unexplored.
Mhm.
And so I was gonna do that. And then I was finding it hard to find people who are like fans of different Magical Girl series. Like a lot of people are just fans of Sailor Moon. Like there's some people who aren't even fans of anime. They just love Sailor Moon.
Right.
And so because of that, I was like, maybe I should just focus on Sailor Moon. And I was like, actually, I would just love to watch Sailor Moon because if I did Magical Girls, I would have to watch all of those series also. And some of them were like 50 episodes. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I could
Yeah.
do a weekly podcast watching 50 episode shows every week. And so
Right.
it just felt a little bit more manageable. And I was like, and I already like no, and this well, I'll get to that later. But so I just came to the conclusion that I think that it would be really cool to kind of just talk to Sailor Moon fans about being Sailor Moon fans and of course the
Mhm.
work that they're doing. And once that idea came, everything just kind of clicked where I was like, oh, it could be called Sailor Moon Fan Club. And it's all about how we're all like part of this fan club and we all do amazing things. So I
Mhm.
get to interview people much like you about like, who their favorite characters are, their favorite moments of the show, but also we talk
Mhm.
about their work. So it's like, what's your book about? What made you want to become a wrestler? All
Right.
those things. And it's just like we're all doing cool things and y'all happen to be Sailor Moon fans.
Nice. Nice. Now we typically ask sort of the basic questions about people about their One Piece experience. So we would start off by asking, what's your favorite Straw Hat character?
Ooh. I'll say Luffy. It's definitely tied between Luffy and Zoro, and I feel like
Hmm.
that's and also Robin. I love Robin. I
Yeah.
really, really love Robin. Like she's just so edgy and cool, and I love her dark humor. Um, but I love like Luffy's just like he's just so fun and
Hmm.
just like his I don't know, like his he doesn't care about anything. Like he's just like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna follow my own moral code. I don't care about
Mhm.
anybody else. And like this
Right.
is what I want to do. He's
Mhm.
also Taurus like me, so I'm like, yes, I get all of that. And Zoro's
He's
just really cool. He's just
yeah.
really cool. That's all. I actually have on Zoro earrings right now.
Oh,
You can't really
nice.
Ah,
Oh
nice.
wow,
warm
Nice.
for the occasion.
three, yeah.
We're big Zoro fans on this podcast, or especially me. And this week we get we're feasting in the manga this week with Zoro
Mhm.
stuff. So
Yes.
That's true.
Oh
uh,
yeah.
our next question is, who is your favorite sort of non-Straw Hat character, non-villain category?
It's a non-straw hat, non-villain.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's hard. Okay. Hmm. Well, I love Vivi. She's really cool, and I'm
Hmm.
happy to see her kind of come back. Say, who am I thinking
Some people would
through?
say she's already in the Straw Hat category, so
True,
she's right
Yeah.
there.
true.
Mhm.
Adjacent
Yeah,
at the very least,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
definitely adjacent. That's a good point.
Mhm.
Okay, let me think. Let me think. Oh man. Um,
There's so
man,
many
my brain is just
characters.
blanking out right now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh. because you said non-villain, that made it hard because I love Doflamingo, and I'm like, yes, or Smoker, which technically villain.
Yeah. A lot of people
Smoker's not a villain.
No.
Okay.
Smoker would fit, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I really like Smoker and Garp. I love
Yeah.
Garp. Garp is fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's sometimes I'm like, oh, I see how you and Luffy are related.
Yeah, especially when they get that smile on their faces.
Yeah,
Dragon did not inherit that smile. Skip the generation. Now, as far as other characters, we ask, what's your favorite villain in One Piece?
Ooh, okay. Well, okay, so he's a horrible person, but I love Doflamingo because he's just really, I don't know, something about him just like is cool. Like I just love his jacket. Like the way he walks is just like he's
very stylish.
stylish.
He's got an aura about him, but also he's like this very sort of knowing embrace of evil as a concept. Not like he's got his own goals, but like he also is consciously thinking about, I'm gonna do evil stuff. Like I'm gonna be evil.
Yeah.
Like,
and he accepts it. That's the thing. It's like he is just like, this is me. I have no regrets. This is what I want. This is what I've always wanted. Like, I just love someone a villain who truly just like accepts being evil, I guess.
It's a lot of fuck you, dad. I'm gonna be evil.
Like, why, I wanted to be rich.
True.
Why did you give away all our money?
Yeah.
Nepo baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's Revenge of the Nepo baby.
A couple more questions. What's your favorite story arc in One Piece?
Ooh, oh gosh, it's between Enies Lobby and Impel Down. Basic, but I really love the whole the moment with Robin where she says, I want to live. Like that is just it's classic. Like that's actually the one I voted on in that One Piece poll the other day.
Right.
I think Toy posted or somebody. And it's just hits in the heart so much. And then the whole Impel Down arc, just like, again, heartbreaking, but also just like seeing everyone come together. I love rallying moments too. So seeing like all the people who like were ready to fight for like Ace and Luffy and like, just seeing that whole journey from like them being in the prison and all the way getting up to trying to save Ace. Like that was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. And just seeing, of course, really sad, but also like the part where Luffy's like, what do I have left? And, saying, I still have my Nakama, and that was just really cool. Just, I love heartfelt moments.
And since you've been you're primarily an anime watcher, do you have a favorite opening or ending theme that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, that's a good question.
Ooh, someone asked me this the other day, and I was like, I gotta go back. 'Cause I watched the opening once, and then I skip it every other time. Yeah. But I've actually been really, really, really loving the Egghead opening. That one I feel like actually I'm gonna let it ride out. Like I really like this. So I'll probably go with that for now because it's the first one that I'm like, oh, I could listen to this because it's a little jam.
Obviously, the opening and endings, and I'm so glad that they brought the endings back. But like the combination of opening and ending, like it's about as good as it gets right now. Even like going back into the past, like We Are and Memories. I think they're definitely trying to sort of, especially the ending theme, sort of trying to ape that first Memories ending, which is my favorite. So I always love to hear that. Alan, it's been about 4 or 5 years since you've been on the show. How have you been enjoying One Piece since then? Are you like keeping up week to week, or what are you doing?
Yeah, full transparency. I was behind on Egghead Island pretty bad with the manga until yesterday, and I just barreled through 60-something chapters in a night. And my brain felt like it was oozing out of the side of my head with just the amount of things that happened. But honestly, I keep marveling every time I finish an episode or a chapter of like just having been into this since 2006 is when I got into the series. It's crazy that there's so much excitement around this franchise and there's so many huge things happening in it this late into a series. I can't think of another TV show, comic book, whatever that has managed to not only keep the momentum that long, but also be as good as it's ever been. I think at this like 25 years into a franchise, it's nuts. But I'm really excited about it because it's like really. I feel like they're paying off a lot of things for those who've been invested in this story and these characters for so long in really meaningful ways that now every time I get a new drop of content, I'm just like I'm just on cloud nine constantly because I'm like,
Yeah.
holy cow, he's really doing it. He's really doing it. This is crazy. So feeling great about it.
Did you have any thoughts about Wano in particular? Since I think that was where we were just starting, sort of the last time you were on the show.
Yeah, it's certainly in hindsight a little bit of a slog, but I do think that a lot of the things that happen in it and the texture of the world that you get out of it is worth it. It's just I think whenever you think about how many years we spent in one arc compared to earlier ones, it's sometimes you go, wow, I that was a lot. But again, like I cannot criticize Oda at this point because it's like every time I think people doubt him, myself included, about where we're going with a particular arc or concept, he throws something crazy at you and goes, "See, this is what I was going for all along." And I go, "Well, I should just shut up and just go along for the ride because what do I know? I'm, nobody else has managed to keep my attention for 18 years like this." So yeah.
I really feel like Wano is kind of destined to be like it really is like the pandemic arc because it's just like, oh, I just like 2 or 3 years just kind of disappeared. Like I don't even remember what happened during that time. I don't know how it's been this long since we had a new arc sort of feel, but it just really occupied so much length of time to get through it.
Well, and here we are now where the amount of things that have happened since after that feels like 9 arcs crammed into one storyline.
Yeah.
In exciting ways, but just very different pacing and like the drip feed of lore and world building stuff. Now I'm like, everything I thought I knew about what they were setting up here is completely questioned on a weekly basis. And it's insane.
Right. Well, I think that's about it for the intro. Although I do have to say one more thing. The One Piece podcast will be at the City Winery in New York City for our show on August 25th. That's Anime NYC weekend. Tickets are available now. City Winery NYC. Check it out. But all that being said, I think it's time we get into the manga recap for chapter 11-17.
Let's do it.
This is the manga recap for chapter 1117, 1117. Hey. I can't help but do the Fonzie at this point. So, but yeah, it's on the cover we have Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 7. I'll pay my respects to the code of the Yakuza before I go, and so Yamato gets to hug a big cat. And
that's the code of the Yakuza.
Yeah.
Big hugs.
Yeah. Big.
Well, it's interesting to comment on like who of the minks is the Yakuza guy. Like Dogstorm, he has I don't know, maybe he has too much dignity, or he's not a Yakuza guy. But Cat Viper, he's boss Cat Viper, so he can be a Yakuza guy. Him and old Hyo down there in the corner, smaller than ever.
Yeah, Cat Viper was always like Yakuza coded, like even from his introduction that he was like the Oyabun, the Yakuza boss style, even within the minks. So yeah, it makes sense that he's doing it here too.
Hope Yamato gets some sick Yakuza tattoos or something by the end of this. That's seated in my head, at least initially. I'm like, that'd be rad.
Yeah. I was actually, speaking of tattoos, this is not really related, but I saw a clip from like, apparently the Ultimate Fighter MMA reality show is still on TV. I didn't know. But apparently there's a competitor this week, or this season, who has like the Naruto Jinchuriki tattoo on his stomach. Like, that is not one that I had seen before. That is an anime tattoo. That is a unique anime tattoo.
Yeah.
Other than Cat Viper here, just
the paper lantern there. That is the kanji for leopard, which is pronounced Hyo. So presumably that's for Hyogoro there.
Oh yeah,
Hyo the flower, old man Hyo.
Cool.
That's my small little detail.
All right, let's. Not much else to say. The Cat Viper is very huggable, but that's all. My only real takeaway here.
Very adorable. Adorable Yakuza.
All right, so back on Pirate Island, you got this guy here who's saying, "So what's he saying, huh? There's buried treasure on the seafloor all over the world?" And some other guys yelling at him and says, "Don't be stupid. You think the whole world was the city of gold?" But that's not really what's important in this panel here, because over here on the right we have what appears to be Geen and Don Krieg, and Steve on the left. Even more importantly than this.
Hold up. Oh my God, it's Pearl, and he's been updated. He's covered more.
Yeah.
This is a great day for the Pearl fan society of Pearl fans. All like 4 of us.
Yeah, they're mostly here.
Yeah. But crazy because I had someone kind of. They're like, "Hey, I wanted to post something, but I wanted to wait till you read the chapter." And I read through it, and I'm like, because I had this suspicion, but then like I read through it, and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't see anything." I had to go back and really, because I read it on my phone this morning, and I didn't enhance. I'm like, "Oh, but there's no Pearl." And then I looked over, and I was like, "Wait a minute, man!" Yeah, so
I see a giant ice cream sandwich over there.
A chip witch, Pearl witch for sale. I was very excited. I might as well just get this up. Like, it's not that plot relevant, but good for them.
Yeah,
they made it.
They did,
especially after they were basically written out of the live action show. Good for them. I'm glad they made it, and they made it pretty far. I mean,
it really was just bad luck for them meeting Mihawk like the first day in the Grand Line. Like, you really couldn't ask for anything worse to happen.
That's true. Don't feel bad, Steve, because I did not notice them at all when I was working on the chapter. Like, it literally wasn't until I started seeing the spoilers coming by, and then people were talking about Don Krieg, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "What? That happened?" It's like, was this in the anime or something? And then, and then I went back and looked, and I was like, "Oh, that's his like shoulder thing there." But it's just
right.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and he saw.
He didn't.
He saw the way he was incorrectly drawn in We Are, and he was like, "I don't have long hair, but maybe I should."
Yeah, and it's like Oda didn't really draw attention to them. Like, they're not front and center; they're just kind of background characters. And he's been drawing a lot of mob scenes with just random scribbly characters in them. So I'm just kind of trained at this point. Like, if I don't recognize something, like, I'm just skipping past it. So.
It really makes you think, because I feel like it was more on the fans thinking like Geen has to come back, right, and be involved in the story. And I there's never any guarantees, and I think that was kind of more of like fan expectation. So I think Oda is just throwing a bone here.
Oh yeah.
To me, this comes off as Oda's like, "Here you go, here's an update," but I don't really plan on doing anything with them.
Probably not.
Geen's not going to save Sanji at Whole Cake Island and all that. It's let it go.
He's just putting it out there so that they can draw them in the crowd scene when the next movie, when it's set on Pirate Island, and they're all in the crowd cheering somebody on.
I just Pearl looks like he's grown out his hair. I don't know. He's
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
All right. Enough about Don Krieg and the Krieg Pirates. And this guy the bald guy here, I don't know, he looks like one of the zombies from Thriller Bark. Just the way his face is shaped. The stitches, maybe that's what it is.
Yes, stitches, yeah.
Yeah. But he says don't be stupid. You think the whole world was the city of gold? And it's 200 meters down. How will you get there? You'll be a sea beast snack. And we go down under the sea, and there's a really fancy looking wreck ship with a big like lion masthead there. And
no, that's just a sea beast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could. Yeah, yeah. I see that.
I think this is just a part of Fishman Island, maybe.
Yeah, the mermaid does look kind of familiar.
Or
thing in her head.
This is a sunken city. That's kind of because it looks like it's really covered in like algae and other sea gunk.
Yep.
That's kind of what I thought, because they're kind of talking about the underground city. So I was like, maybe they're trying to show that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Like, I don't know. I've heard that there are ships that can go underwater. You got the money for that. It'd be easier to make friends with a mermaid. Now there's a tempting idea.
Buddy, you're speaking my language.
Yeah. With the heart at the end there. Anyway, back on the Grand Line, we see some familiar-looking ships. And we hear, that's long before Nolan's Day. What a tale. Ook, ook. Ready for another dive? We see it's Mont Blanc Cricket. And Shoujo and Mashira, and even one of the little diver guys jumping up in the background there. This is the stuff of dreams. Woo! Yeah. So
yeah, well, that actually the woohoo there is the way that they wrote Shoujo. Like he does the woohoo.
Okay, yeah.
His little singy song that he does. But yeah, Zaddy Noland here, good with the beard.
Yeah,
that chestnut popping out of the panel. Oda doesn't tend to do that. I don't think he because even if you look at the next page, he doesn't tend to have his character focused panels with them kind of really popping out of the panel borders. So I thought that was an interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
I think he thought like, oh, if you don't see the chestnut, it maybe it's not
exactly
obvious that it's cricket.
Yeah.
So,
yep,
that's right.
All right. So now at the Navy G5 General Hospital, we hear,
oh, that's GS
General Hospital.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Are you all right, Kobe? So is he saying, this is Helmeppo now talking, saying, so he's saying that the One Piece is, and he trails off. Hibari interjects to say, sure is a lot to take in, huh? We see that she is sort of sitting, minding Kobe's bedside there. Prince Gruce and Kujaku and Helmeppo are also there. But Kobe says, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I need to jot all this down later. My mind can't keep up.
Same.
Yeah. And Kujaku says, the captain's recovering well, but he wants to be alone. Kobe says, this appears to be leading us to a pretty dangerous conclusion. Don't you think, Prince? And he replies, sure do. Seems like an answer that shouldn't be. And Kujaku, with the sinister shading over her eyes, says, and that's where we step in. And Kujaku, just once again, that is Tsuru's granddaughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Which is like it kind of begs the question of like, what is she like what is their interpretation of the implications of this? Like, is she saying like, all right, let's take on the celestial dragons. That's where we step in. Like, I don't know if that's I don't know if that's really something that's within their power as a sword, but
yeah. Well, I mean, go ahead.
Point, they kind of don't have much to lose, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
They are Garp's sort of designated, that's Garp's crew right there. So if anyone's going to do something reckless, that's not necessarily within orders. It'd probably be them. They're the loose cannons of the Marines. But on the next page, Victoria, it's yours.
Yeah, so there's a man looking very pensive, and there's a yammer yammer, chatter chatter, and there's 3 dots. He's clearly thinking of something, and for the life of me, I cannot remember who this man is, and I feel really bad about it. So please help me out, y'all.
This is D.S. Drake, and he is the of Sword.
Oh.
You must not recognize him because he's not wearing his mask.
That's right.
Yes, thank you. I was like, what is wrong? But I was like, I know
that
the hair.
ridiculous hair.
Yeah.
That could be anybody.
Yeah.
It's also one thing.
Sorry, I was going to say the proof of the Superman thing with the glasses totally works every time. We always joked about it, but it's like we were fooled by the mask or glasses or whatever. Anyway, sorry.
I just imagine
No, it really
Drake disappearing into a phone booth and coming back with his mask on. Nobody's going to recognize me now.
And I did it. It works. It works. Just put on some glasses. You'll fool me. Okay, so we have Drake here looking pensive, ... And I'm guessing he is looking at this phone or something that's happening. It says, New World. Tashigi, where are you? Oh, Smoker. And Tashigi and Smoker are talking. I'm at the General G's General Hospital. Smoker's looking very cool as usual. He is smoking, as you might have guessed.
Riding his
and he's riding, some like motorcycle.
The smog hog.
I mean, he had that
The
back
smog
in.
hog.
He's had that back to
Yeah.
Logtown, but I don't know if we've seen him ride it on the sea before like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even
No.
realize he was on the sea. Yeah. That is really cool. I mean, he's just so cool. He just oozes coolness, like whatever he's doing.
I feel like I forget if I said this on the podcast recently or just in conversation. I was like, Smoker is criminally underutilized. How has he not been involved in a major story in like 12 years? And maybe I manifested this. So.
No,
He
someone
must
mentioned
have-
that he hasn't been in chapters since like the 400s, like somewhere around there.
No. Punk Hazard.
Punk
was the
Hazard,
last
yeah.
time.
Oh, right,
So-
right.
But that was a while ago. Yeah, he must have some like glue on his collar or something like that because he is driving at like 60 miles an hour on the sea with his jacket on his shoulders, just hanging there, and it's not going anywhere.
It's one of those hockey powers.
Yeah, I guess
The
so.
smoke, it just controls everything. And he's just that cool. He's just that cool. He doesn't need it. He can defy gravity and physics. Okay, so we have just a group of people. I also don't recognize anyone here. Hopefully Oda's not dropping someone in the crowd.
Doesn't look like it. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that one
never
guy in the
know.
plaid, Jesus, down in front.
Yeah. And this other one, Ite Nawiho? Nawiho? That's just a good
yeah.
jacket, like a little leather jacket.
Mhm. Yeah, his
What does it say,
it
Steven?
says Itai Nanio, which is like it's funny because I mean it's definitely one of Oda's classic like here I'm going to put a piece of the dialogue that he's saying on, but he actually doesn't say the same thing. It's that guy yelling, about what did Roger leave behind, but he doesn't actually say that. But that phrase on his jacket was like what the hell is it, or like what's the thing? So yeah, he wants to know. He wore his jacket for
Got
this.
it. Oh, nice. So I think the most important thing here is that they're all watching Vegapunk. And so Vegapunk is on this screen and he's saying, I know this information is in bits and pieces, but if I were to say more, it would be speculation. And then this guy who's in this, tell me what what you're saying is saying, just tell us, what did Roger leave behind? Which is, I'm sure, what every reader is also thinking. It's like, get to it. Then we're back at Egghead. Seeing kind of like a going back from the full island, kind of seeing a full island picture. And we zoom in on Nami who's saying, look, the barrier's coming down. And then it looks like the barrier is coming down. There's a little pachink sound going on. And someone says, what was that huge noise earlier? That scared me. And Chopper is saying, it looks like the clouds have stopped extending outward. And then Usopp is saying, we've got plenty of room as it is. There's enough distance for the ship to land in water. So now it's like maybe they can land safely. And I'm like, okay. And then a zoom in of, I am forgetting. Oh, this is Lilith.
Yep.
So zoom in on Lilith in the background. Zooming in, she's saying, but it sounds like there's a whole bunch of enemy ships right where we land. And you're kind of looking down and seeing a bunch of enemy ships just like going at it on the water outside of the island, and it is chaos. Back to the ship. Brooke is saying the cola barrels are loaded. We can fire them off at any time. And then Nami's checking in with Jinbei, who is still trying to get Zoro together. And he's saying, are you okay? Are you here yet, Jinbei? And Jinbei's saying, almost there, and Zoro's looking like he is ready to kick someone's ass. I'll stop there.
So yeah, Jinbei continues. We're on the heels of a mysterious monster. What? Why are you going on a detour? Get back here at once. It's not a detour. Monster's heading for you. Watch out. Huh? And his presence is truly overwhelming. And as this is Ethan Baron Vinostero, one of the five elders, is you can really see the scale of like who I'm not sure, is that Nami standing on the bridge of the Sunny
I think
there?
so, yeah.
Yeah. God.
And
he's huge.
His monster form, and he's drawing his sword, and we'll get back to his sword in a second. And Lilith, Usopp, and Chopper are like, the five elders. And he's like, what? Or I guess it's Vinastro.
It's them. That's just them. They're going.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What? So Jinbei decides to take matters into his own hands and fling Zoro at Ethan Perrin Vinastro with Fishman Jiu-Jitsu, and he's like throwing him like it's more like baseball skill. This is like he's doing his Shohei Ohtani here, his Ohtani throw, and he throws him, and Zoro goes into his two-sword style Restful Paradise Rashomon. And it's interesting. I was looking at some clips of Vinastro fighting a pacifista from a few chapters back, and his sword definitely had a hilt, or a tsume, I think is what it's called, that had like the German cross on it, like
right, the rounded one.
Yeah, like Zoro's Kitetsu does. And that's not it's not here anymore. The handle sort of matches what like his sheath has always looked like, with the wooden.
Kind of looks like Fujitora's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that is, but that, I mean, it looks extremely cool. Although the scale is all off here. I'm not like the way he towers over Nami, and then the way Zoro. How big is Zoro here? Anyway, I don't know, it's very cool though.
I don't know. You could argue foreshortening, because obviously he's blocking Zoro's attack. So
yeah, it's true.
Stro's arm is more outstretched, so it's further away.
True.
But also, Oda's never had like a reputation for being perfectly on model.
No,
at least.
See, I mean. Why am I always spacing on his name? It's Izo. Just see Izo interacting with any Wano character, and you'll forget he's like average 5'10" or 11 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just love the way Jinbei rears back and like puts his hand out, and then like throws Zoro, just sort of flings him. That's he hasn't usually does that with Sanji. He like kicks off with Sanji, kicks him at somebody, and now Jinbei is getting in on it too.
Yeah, it's always great to see like the team up attacks, like going back to like Drum Island, when they did the like Sanji swings them on his leg and stuff like that. It's always cool.
Or back in Dressrosa with was that Orlumbus who got to?
Yes,
who did,
I was about to mention.
Orlumbus.
Yeah, he does throw. But on the next page, we see the reaction of both Zoro and Nostro, and there's black lightning hockey, lightning clashing coming off of them, and it's kind of funny because it's hard to tell because they're sort of spiky bubbles already, but it sort of looks like there are tails for both of them. They're both going like they're both surprised at the other, and one or possibly both of them say Kitetsu, with the assumption being, of course, that obviously Zoro has one of the Kitetsus, and then Nostro has probably the original.
And we think that Luffy was carrying the second one at one point on Wano.
Yeah,
possibly.
I forget if that was confirmed or not.
This just makes it really puzzling now, like, because is it an art mistake now when it's actually relevant, or is like Oda all of a sudden realized, like, oh, I didn't want it to be known yet, even though we've seen this character with that sword every time we've seen him already. So it's like, why course correct now? It's strange. I guess we'll have to wait and see when this chapter comes out in a volume.
If he switches one of them. It's like right now it looks like the hilt just like fell off of the sword pretty much.
It's definitely not, it's got like that, it's that wooden kind of hilt though,
the handle,
right?
Right. That's what his like the sheath has always looked like, but he had like a traditional katana handle from what I remember. But it's weird.
Interesting. And then there's just like this very kinetic, like pa-ching, as they separate, the forces reflected on each of them, and so they both kind of fall backwards, and it's almost a humorous, like from Nostro, because he's in this giant horse form, and now that his legs are just like floating up in the air as he gets knocked away from the ship. which was the point. And then Jinbei raises his baseball mitt and catches the ball. No, it's
I got him. I got it.
Let's see, 2 outs.
It's just
it's Zoro.
It's his jacket, I think. But
yeah, it's his jacket.
Looks like a glove.
It's his jacket being black, and then of course his hair is in the manga it is white.
It's
Jinbei.
it's.
I got it.
I was just gonna say, it's like Zoro never had a father really to play catch with, and now they're playing catch with Zoro.
How touching that we're doing this on Father's Day.
Father's Day, yeah. Happy Father's Day, Zoro.
Want to go play catch with your old man?
And
your old fish man.
Yeah, Nami is watching from the edge of the deck there, as they collapse in a big pile of dust. And Zoro is yelling out, "Push off! We'll jump on now while you still can." So the crew is gonna scramble to get that ship off the clouds. And meanwhile, we go to the northeast coast of Egghead, where we see the giant Elbaf ship in all of its Viking glory with the shields and everything. And Bonnie is shouting, "Where are you, Straw Hat? Hurry up! We can't last forever!" And meanwhile, the Marines on the ships around them are yelling, this guy's going, "It's just one ship. Forget the legends. Sink that old Elbaf junker to the seafloor." And meanwhile, Sanji and Atlas, are they on the ship? I forget. Or
they seem to be standing on the shore there, right by the...
Are they close by? I don't know. I don't remember what the last thing that was happening with Sanji and Alice was, but
Sanji was carrying Bonnie to the Elbaf ship, so they're standing in front of it. I think.
Okay, yeah, they're off in they're separated by the flames and the chaos of the battle, I guess, at the shoreline. So he's saying, "Can't seem to get a connection through. Come on, Luffy." So he's trying to get in touch, and then just from the middle of the flames, you just see Luffy going, "I'm almost there. Get the ship moving." And Sanji's like, "Oh," so he's just gonna yell really loud, which is if technology is failing you, just do it the old-fashioned way.
Also, how long have you known Luffy? At this point, of course, he's just gonna yell.
Yeah.
It's kind of on brand for him.
Yeah, and Atlas is relieved that Luffy is almost. Oh, good. And then we go to the next page.
We see this is Brogy yelling out to Oimo and Kashi. I know my characters. I know this. I got this. Oimo and Kashi, and we see Oimo and Kashi, and they yell out to their captains, and Dory calls for them to set sail, and they say, "You got it, Captain." It's like, "We're off. Swing her around." And then we hear the Navy yell, "Don't let them escape." And then we start seeing some cool action shots, some close-ups here. This one giant with a pretty heavy cleft there fires a big bow and arrow. And then this other big guy, he's grabbing...
I think he's
croissants?
I think he's shooting cannons like pistols.
Oh, yeah, cannons like pistols. Yeah, it was... Yeah, not entirely clear. Yeah, I literally was like, I guess he's having a snack. I don't know. And then I forget who this scary looking Marine is named, but I know we've seen him a bunch before. He says, "Stand firm. They're fossil pirates from 100 years ago." As everyone's getting blown up behind him, like, yeah, they may be from 100 years ago, but they're also freaking huge. And then we see a scale of them. We see a bunch of these guys who, as far as I know, aren't actually haven't been named characters yet, but we hear them say, "Drive them off, boys!" And one of them laughs, says, how would this go? Like, "Boy, ya, ga, 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 ga."
I love his mustache. This guy, he's got a very Muppety mustache, even more so.
We'll get into him in a sec.
Okay.
And we see a bunch of these Marines have escaped into dinghies, and they say, "We can't handle them, sir." And they're calling for all ships to leave positions and focus on our target. And they said, "I want an all-out assault." But the only all-out assault here is on the Viking pirates here, the giant pirates. These guys are great. They are some very Jim Henson-y looking dudes who, maybe at least one of them's based off a professional wrestler. Who knows? But just amazing facial hair. And then if they don't have facial hair, they have impressive jaws.
I mean, because there is a giant on Hyruden's crew who is named Stanson, or Stan Hansen.
Yes.
But that guy with the mustache looks how Stan Hansen actually looks. It's different from the guy who shares his name, which is there's something about that mustache that's very Muppety. And
I know, and then like the guy on the left also looks like very Muppety with the antler helmet, but he's got like lighter hair but then a dark beard. He could be like any muscle dude from like the early mid 80s, like Jesse Ventura or Hogan or something like that it's a very bleached blonde hair, dark beard kind of thing.
It's very much so that like Oda was into wrestling like around the age of 10, as like that's always that's the wrestling that you remember. That's whatever the coolest wrestling was is whatever it was when you were 10.
He also kind of reminds me of Gomez from like Gomez and Morticia, like with the mustache a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, what, this guy on the far right over
grabbing
here?
the ropes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the mustache. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a great use of scale, like a better use of scale in this panel here. We just see like, how does the Navy think they have a chance here? These are
I can
also want to know
giants and thinking you could win.
And then the guy that actually looks like Stan Hansen. What animal is that piece of meat from? Because that's a large piece of meat on the bone. So
it's those ribs from the Flintstones.
Yeah, Bronto.
Also, let's give a little shout out to this giant that looks like he's gonna eat that dude.
Yes, he does. He really does.
Like I didn't expect a little moment of Attack on Titan in this chapter, but I'm here for it.
Giant pirates hungry.
None of these guys are the BFG. They're all the other giants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially to the one, the guy we keep going back to in the upper left. One of the classic Hensonite details, which is always appreciated, is having like a cartoon character or some other like goofy design character where you can't see their eyes. They just they just are looking through nothing. And I love that that style. It's so fun.
It's unnerving too. Like it kind of makes them both charming, but also kind of ominous too. So yeah.
And then let's see, this is me. On the next set of pages, then we get Vice Admiral Bluegrass, which I was looking up while Steve was talking. The guy on the previous page with the Vice Admiral with the pointy teeth and the leprechaun looking hat is Urban, which can't imagine why I wouldn't remember that name. It's just very random. But Bluegrass here, who has the writing powers, she's like, "What is this sorry display? Don't each and every one of you carry justice on your back? Act like the heroes you are, not a bunch of scrubs." And like shoots with the sea beast weapon there, just like shoots a giant laser beam that's like burning through the wood, it seems like. And they're all like, "Vice Admiral Bluegrass," and Kashi is looking over the side and he's like, "Whoa, that put a hole in the ship." And then we see out of nowhere Vice Admiral Dahl she's got her fist cocked back and it's got the hockey around it, and she kind of leaps up. It looks like her coat is flying off there. And she just slams Kashi with a rock and roll blaster. You can see like a whole succession of blows landing on his face and on his chest and arm and stuff. And is really taking it to Kashi. And it looks like on the next page that he's like kind of falling over the side into the water maybe. And the Marines are cheering. They're like, "Yeah, go Vice Admiral Dahl. Love a good brawler." And the Giants are exclaiming for Kashi. And then we get this guy, Vice Admiral Baby Man, with his little, his little boss baby hair.
Oh, baby man.
That's not a hair. That's just an exposed nerve.
and he says, "Keep it up. So what if they're giants?" And he's all buttoned up, so he's not doing any of the fighting. He's just giving orders there. And Luffy is interesting. It's like he goes, "Huh?" And then you can actually see this is a thought bubble, like on below it, where he is thinking of Workuri, the giant boar, and he says, "Oh, at some point the boar stopped chasing." So they are no longer in direct combat, and we see that he is standing on top of Dory's head as Dory and Brogy take them away through the trees, presumably towards the ship. And Dory's like, "That's good news. Now we can just hop on the ship." And Luffy's, he's got his hand over his brow in the classic zooming in view mode. He's like, "Where'd he go?" Looking for any sign of the giant boar. And Brogy says, "And then we can set sail." Bah, 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 bah.
All right, Alan.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, we have a panel here with Bird Elder, whose name escapes me, looming over the ancient automaton that's been stirring to life recently. Then we cut to a crowd watching Vegapunk continue his monologue, saying, "Lastly, I have one final message to impart to those scattered throughout the world." And the panel cuts back to a Bird Elder going, "Hey, isn't that?" And then dramatic zoom in, because clearly they're not happy about Vegapunk continuing to spill the tea. Next page, we have another panel of the automaton. It says, it's the Iron Giant that attacked Marie Joie 200 years ago. I'm certain of it. Cuts back dramatically to Vegapunk, who bear the name of D. And then once again, Bird Elder. I think it's Bird Elder, right?
Marcus Mars.
Thank you. Charging to try to stop the broadcast. "Don't you dare!" Dramatic pan to Dragon, just with shock face. And then, of course, the revolutionaries and Sabo all reacting, because they all remember people they know with D in the name. Ace, Luffy, Vice Admiral Garp. Then we cut to dramatically Blackbeard going, as if he knows what's going on here. And then we get, "Within you there is ... And then classic, any Beppo content I get, I'm always happy about. He goes, "Captain." And then that's it for me. What do we got next?
We might have to take a break here because Alex is not here yet.
Is he not here? Okay, who's going to take those pages then?
Yeah. Steve, do you mind?
Yeah, I'll take over.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Alrighty, and I'm trying to think of what exactly is going on here, but
so that's Workuri.
This is Workuri, like just ramming into the Iron Giant here.
Seems to be the case.
Yeah. And interrupting his I love the way that the broadcast bubble is interrupted. Like it turns into like a collision bubble. It's like there is a.
But and then big impact. There's just a lot of black ink on the page here, and we start to see the giant fall, and this is Workuri saying like, "Enough of this, Vegapunk," as the Iron Giant falls into the sea, I guess, where all the Navy ships are. And everyone's like, "No, it cut out." We're never going to find out who Eric Cartman's father is now.
Eric D. Cartman.
Yeah. And we cut to the WEJ on the go, the teapot in the sky, VV, Big News Morgans, and Wapple. And they're like, What was it going to say? And I think this is Morgan saying D, and we just hear like almost like a not answer. What is it when like a phone hangs up and you just hear a dial tone? I guess it's a dial tone. Beep, beep, and people are just like thinking like, is it signal jamming? And we can't really tell what the rest of the elders are thinking here, but the signal is cut. But meanwhile, we cut to York back inside the the labio phase, wherever she's at, but she's panting, and she says, "It's finally stopped," but ... You know, we'll see what happens. And of course, we hear a bunch of screams and yells of all the people fighting outside, and
all the people complaining about the cliffhanger.
Oh, people are complaining about a cliffhanger in a weekly series. Oh,
are we back next week, Steven?
Yes.
You know? Okay, good.
Yes.
That's a relief. All right. So, great chapter this week. Let's get some thoughts on the chapter. We'll start with our guests first. Alan, what did you think?
No, I mean, like I said earlier in the episode, like it's just so much happening at once. It's kind of exciting, but also just like I feel like this was helpful to me to kind of recap what I just read this morning, of just so many huge world things happening. Of course, in classic One Piece fashion, we get a cliffhanger that's painful. But I don't know. I'm just stoked to sort of find out more about the greater mysteries of this franchise that have been so skillfully held to the close to the chest for this many years. It's exciting to even get morsels of it, even if we're not, poor Vegapunk cut off in the most dramatic way possible. But yeah, I totally dig this chapter.
Right on. Victoria, what were your thoughts on the chapter?
Yeah, same for me. This was also super helpful because I think it was interesting, I think, in this reread, realizing how this broadcast is going on as like all this chaos is also going on. And I think in my brain I was kind of reading them as two different things. I'm like, wait, what is Vegapunk saying? And I'm like, wait, what's going on with this fight? And kind of remembering them as two separate things going on. And then this made me realize, oh no, these things are happening at the same time, and just like how chaotic that must be. But just overall, just super interested. I was talking to my friend who's he's watching One Piece for the first time, and he's in Thriller Bark now, so I don't give him any spoilers, but he's always asking for spoilers. He's like, I don't care, and I'm like, no, I'm not telling you any spoilers. And so I was like, okay, I'll give you this. I'm like, there's like a hint of a hint about like the One Piece and D, and he's just like, well, what was it? I was like, it's a hint of a hint. Like there's actually nothing. It was mentioned. That's all I can say. That's all I'll give you. He's like, well, what else? And I'm like, that is it. And it was exciting. So yeah, I really, really love it.
There's a moment in particular in Sabaody that I was thinking of. Like whenever people ask for stuff like this, it's like Luffy saying, "I don't want to know," and that would ruin the fun. Can't tell me anything. Yeah. Any more thoughts?
I mean, I just really love that combo move. We mentioned it before, but with Zoro and Jinbei, like I love any combo attacks, group attacks. Like I think it's just always really fun to see people kind of play off of each other and use their strengths.
Yeah, especially since typically in the series, characters can be really siloed, dealing with their own parallel character in a particular arc. So getting to see sort of teamwork things reminds me of like classic X-Men comics where, Colossus would throw Wolverine at somebody to do like a screw attack or whatever. I'm like, yeah, the possibilities are endless with these characters. So yeah, totally.
It's funny you mentioned that because my brain immediately went to Marvel versus Capcom and like doing those combo attacks and like pulling in your
All right.
Just furthering the demand for a Arc Systems One Piece fighting game.
Killing me, Steve. My heart.
All right. Steven, what were your thoughts on the chapter? I'm not sure if this was a harder one for you to translate, but there is open-ended questions, especially given the title of the chapter. So I kind of wanted you to whatever your thoughts were on that, especially the title.
Yeah. Okay. So just for my thoughts personally, I thought, it's frustrating because it's sort of like, he did it to us again. Like it's the Clover speech all over again. Like we're about to get some kind of concrete detail of something that we're wondering about, and then Oda cuts us off before we get the answer. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm really hoping that this is not like just the end of the Iron Giant, because I really wanted the Iron Giant to like play a significant part. And if it ends up just being like, oh yeah, it was just hiding the snail, and it prolonged this inevitable cutting off of the signal by about a chapter or so, like that's a very unsatisfying, I think, use ultimately for the Giant. So I'm still hoping that we'll get something meaningful out of this. But it is a little bit frustrating about that, and I'm not sure, like Steve was when he was doing the this Giant panel, and I was just kind of looking at it just now of the impact on the Giant, and like the way that because Oda will do stuff, as many mangaka do, of like they will like use the like the cutout knives or whatever on the screen tone of the background to make sure that the foreground elements are like silhouetted so that there's a white, so you can see them clearly when they're in front of other elements as well. Mm-hmm. And it kind of looks like that. Like, there's some funky, like sort of smudgy effect work around it, but the way it's drawn, it almost reminds me of that chapter in Kuma's flashback where like they didn't finish the screen tones, and so there was just like a lot of like charcoal pencil or whatever drawn there. So it almost makes me wonder if there's going to be like a finished version of this particular panel in the volume whenever that comes out, because it is a little odd. I mean, you get the point, because the work area is right there in the background, so it's like, okay, yeah, he smashed the Giant, but I would have liked a little cleaner panel, I guess. But all of that aside, yes, there is obviously a major question here, and I'm gonna apologize ahead of time because this is gonna take a couple minutes to go through, but I'm going to give you a little Japanese 101 to help parse what it is that we learn and what it is that we don't know with what Vegapunk was about to say. So the name of the chapter is A. It's just the letter A, which, unless you glossed over it, you will remember is the very last thing that we hear from Vegapunk on the message before it gets cut off. And in Japanese, it was not actually A. It was a hiragana character mole, not A. And so the first thing we need to know, this again, Japanese 101, there are 3 different styles of writing in Japanese, 3 different, not alphabets, but different forms that the written language comes in. One, of course, is kanji. It's the Chinese characters, the big complicated stuff. But every person who learns Japanese, especially in school, the very first thing you learn is hiragana and katakana. Those are the 2 other ones. And they are equivalent to the alphabet. It's not an actual alphabet. They are
Syllabic.
Phonemes. Yeah, they're phonemes, so they are sounds, and so hiragana and katakana are phonetic. They tell you how something is pronounced, and they mirror each other. So the same things exist in both hiragana and katakana. It's almost like uppercase and lowercase letters, and some of the hiragana and katakana that correspond to the same sound even look similar. Not all of them, but a couple of them. And hiragana is basically just like, that's the building block of Japanese. So, anything in the Japanese language can be written in hiragana. And katakana is basically the same thing, but it is for loan words. So anything that is not from Japanese. So like all of our names, if we were to write them in Japanese, you would write them in katakana. And like, for example, in One Piece, pretty much all of the characters, aside from some of the people in Wano who had like full-on Japanese names, they're all written in katakana as well.
Like One Piece is written in katakana on the logo of the series, like
yes,
above the Roman Romaji.
Yeah. And so basically what that means is like, if it's katakana, that means it's something where the sound is the most important part because it doesn't correspond to any Japanese language meaning. It's like just a phonetic sound. And so that mole, which was the title in Japanese and was the last thing that you see before the robot gets hit, is not in katakana, which means that it is something in the Japanese language. It's a part of the Japanese, so it has a meaning to it. And it is not just the sound. So that's why, okay, first step is it does not have to be mo in English. And it probably is not, because it's going to have a meaning to it whenever we find out the meaning. And it's very unlikely that whatever that meaning is, it's going to be mo. So, it's not like within you there is a monster or something like that. So we have to look at it from the perspective of the Japanese language. So having said that, we go back to the last thing that he says. So he's addressing to all the people who bear the name of D. And in his last little panel in English, which says, within you there is ... That says, in Japanese, that is, omae-san tachi no naka ni. So omae-san tachi is basically a sort of colloquial way for Vegapunk to say you, plural. So it's kind of like his version of like y'all or something. He's referring to all of these people with the D. And then no is a possessive particle, so it's belonging to you. He's talking about you people with the D. And naka ni or naka is inside. And this is probably the trickiest part of this, because you can interpret that as being either there are basically two words in English that are the most direct version of this, which is within or among. And those are actually fairly different. They have fairly different meanings in English. So it could mean within you, as in inside of you individually, like within each of you there is, the bloodline of the ancient kingdom or something like that, for example. Or it could be within you, as in within your group, there is, a traitor, or there are, people who, there is another Joy Boy or something like that.
People have accused Blackbeard of being a false D before. Like, he's not a real one.
Okay. Yeah. So it could be referring to them individually, or it could be referring to them as a group. And, if you say within, it's, the assumption is probably within you personally. And when you say among, that is definitely referring to a group. I didn't go with within ultimately, just because I thought there's maybe a little bit of wiggle room to interpret that as being within a group, but I didn't think there was the same wiggle room going the other way from among. So either way, in Japanese, you can interpret that either way. So, that's not something that we know for sure. And then that last thing, the mo, the thing that he used in the chapter title, since it is hiragana, there are a couple different possibilities here. The first one, and probably the most obvious interpretation of this, is that there is also a particle mo, which means to, T-O-O, or also. It means in addition. So he could be saying, like, within you there is also something. There is also the bloodline of the ancient kingdom, for example. Or there is the possibility of being the new Joy Boy, or whatever that happens to be. There is also you can also have it. There's a number of Japanese words. There's also mo, M-O-U, which is extended, and that could be used in phrases like mo hitori or mo hitotsu, which means like another person or another thing. So you'll notice here I've mentioned also and another, so both words that start with a as possible translations for whatever this might end up being. And then, of course, there's any other word, like any noun or any verb or something that just happens to start with mo. And there's no way to tell at this point which of these different permutations there is. So first of all, I mean, this is an impossible thing to translate. Like, there is just literally, I guarantee, all the other language translators had the exact same thought as me of like, oh my God, what are you supposed to do with this? Because it is so vague, and yet because of the way he titled the chapter, there's just like the first little hint of a piece of information, something that you would be able to tie into whatever the full message is. So you can't just, I didn't want to just say there is blank, or just end it with there, and then on the next page it says is, because and there's just not enough to go on. And so I put the little A in there because, for me, then I can say, I can use words like also, a or an, and then, anything, any noun or whatever. There is a bloodline, there is a traitor, there is a chance that you can be Joy Boy. That's very versatile that way. And so that was ultimately kind of the reasoning behind choosing A for at least for the English translation. I'm sure it was different for all of the other language versions that they put out. So we don't know, but I'm trying to maneuver myself so that whatever it ends up being, I have the best chance to kind of adapt the text to fit what we already saw here. And let me see, was there anything else that I left out there? Yeah, it's funny. And like when I talked to Greg about this thing too, he said, and I completely agree with this, like the first thing that he said was like, I bet there's a 50-50 chance that even Oda doesn't know what the rest of that sentence is yet. And I was like, yep, I would totally believe that. Like he just kind of set it up and it's like, all right, I'll figure that out later. We don't know, but I do feel fairly certain that whatever it is not, it's probably not going to start with MO, which is it was why I felt the license to change it as needed. But yeah, it's just another great day of being the translator for One Piece. Yeah, just love being responsible for figuring this stuff out when you have no idea what the answer is. But
Oda's Oda's like notorious for having so much of this planned out ahead of time, but actually Oda's really a master of giving himself lots of options and sort of backfilling it from
he can do everything.
Point. Yeah,
he can do it all.
And I want to welcome Alex to the show. Thank you, Alex.
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
The A is, he was about to say Alex. No, I was going to say, Steven, I'm really glad that you cleared that up because, honestly, like A, if it's another, then it could be within you. There is another sky.
This is also reminding me of I don't know if any of you watched Succession, but there was a part where a character was trying to figure out if his name was underlined or crossed out, and it's like that ambiguity enough where you're like, what is that? Like this like could mean so much for the larger part of the story, but just have to wait and find out.
Can't wait for Tom and cousin Greg to have a panic attack about whether or not they're both D's.
They have D's in their names. Like, where's my birth certificate?
Greg, you're a D? Yeah, you're not a D, Tom?
The D stands for Disgusting Brothers.
It does.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yep.
How is cousin Greg a D and not me? Sorry, that's for like maybe the small little crossover of our audience that watches both Succession and One Piece.
D's nuts.
Alex, what are your thoughts on the chapter?
My thoughts on the chapter. I liked this chapter a whole lot. Mostly because the transmission's finally over, I think, and we can get on with it, as they say in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Yeah, this is. I like that. There's still other characters that we hadn't yet seen react to this news,
like Pearl and Geen.
Geen and Don Krieg, who now wears glasses to indicate that time has passed. I love Noland and the Sorayama Alliance. I think it's really cool that like last time they're basically where we left them the last time we saw them, which was on the Decks of the World cover story. Smoker, good to see Smoker again. You mentioned that did you mention that he was carrying like something behind him on his little bike?
Oh. Let's go back and have a look at that.
Missed that.
Yeah, he's got something attached to it, like a big block, and he's dragging it.
You mean his smog hog?
Yeah, it's attached to his smog hog.
That's so weird. Like,
yeah, if you look at that first panel, there's clearly something trailing behind, and then you sort of see it in the other panel. It looks like there's like an X on it or something like that,
like a big box or something.
Mm-hmm. I just would have thought he'd at least draw like a rope or something to make it clear. I don't know.
Anyway, I think that's hey, I wonder what that could be. Could be. It looks kind of like Mr. Three's Wax House a little bit. But I think the last time we saw Mr. Three, he's with Cross Guild anyway. So
It's the safe from Fast and Furious 5 they drag around at the end. He's just gonna use it as a weapon for the rest of the story arc.
Oh man, I hope so. That's like, for my money, that's the best one.
Smoker's gonna come in and do like a drift and smack somebody off of the shoreline there.
Yeah. Interesting that I think it's been speculated for a while that Venus Juro has a Kitetsu sword, possibly Kitetsu the First. So I think it's interesting that I think it's really fun that he and Zoro both clocked their cursed swords clashing there. I love that 2-page spread. I really love that giant spread. I especially love the one like picking the guy up and sort of like playing with him a little bit. This gets me so excited for Elbaf. Like, I don't know. Let's see what else. Yeah. I think it's cool that, we get sort of a hint of what's to come as far as like, new information goes, but at the same time, Oda's still keeping it vague. This was enough of an info dump. We can't really land it with a with some big information. So I really love that panel, by the way, at the end of Vivi and Morgans and Wapol, because I feel like it's like this is the audience right now. This is what was he gonna say? Anyways, that's yeah.
Wapol is very upset, but he's always just upset generally. He's seen some shit.
Yeah, he's probably still thinking about what he saw at the Reverie. He's like, I don't care about any of this shit.
Honestly, I didn't expect him to make me relate to him so much, because lately he's just been, I just don't want to get yelled at, and I'm like, same, Waffle. That's my like usual prime directive in my life.
Yeah, isn't Wapol's younger than all of us now these days, isn't he?
Yep.
Oh no,
bad.
What are you doing?
All right. Thank you, Alex, and we'll have more from you in the piece together as well. So, Steve, what were your thoughts on the chapter?
Well, I already expressed my joy from the first page, but I should also mention I saw Kobe in a hospital bed. I was like, uh oh, but it's okay. I'm safe. A certain character didn't come back. It's fine. If you know, you know.
Right.
Besides that, yeah, I kind of like how I maybe I saw this phrase passed around somewhere today. It's like, wow, he gave us a new name of the ancient kingdom thing. He gave us a new piece of information that got cut off on. That's the thing. So like this broadcast, we weren't completely, we weren't robbed of a reveal. We got a reveal, but there was another reveal that, we wasn't necessarily guaranteed. Vegapunk was just being very generous with just dropping bombshells, but this was the one. And unfortunately, we're probably going to have to wait on a little bit longer, but it's good. It's good. I think we don't want every single mystery to be, Alex, sorry, you missed, I did a South Park reference earlier, and just, I don't want to see something equivalent. All of these questions will be answered now.
Oh no, I definitely thought of who was Eric Cartman's father. What I read that earlier.
Eric D. Cartman.
It was I look forward to the next chapter, which will be an episode of Terrence and Phillip.
Yeah, it'll just be it'll be Johnny and Yosaku, just their adventures.
That's like two of the people we haven't seen yet. Like everyone else gets featured during this monologue, but not them.
But I do like that. Cool. We still have like another mystery left to go. I thought like, wow, is Vegapunk going to give us the Will the D thing, but just a little bit more. But now it's, as Stephen, talked about it at length, but still a mystery on what exactly it means. But within you, it's, who knows? Feel like a lot of these people are the key to like restoring the world to what it was, or help carrying it into the future. It's hard to say because we've had characters, like Blackbeard's a D, and like Saul. Oh, well, Saul's alive now, so he is a big factor here. But other than that, I don't think I have any other like nuance really to bring in here. It was a really fun chapter, and I think despite some once again some confusing animation scaling here and there's some really great artwork, some great panels. I think besides the one with all the giants messing stuff up, the one with the Iron Giant walking, and then to his right you see all the the elders just looming in. It's so great, just knowing like they got him.
Engulfed in black flames like that. It's just it's very ominous.
Like a lion like pouncing on a gazelle or something. It's like it's over. But I'm just very curious to see what's going to happen next week, because I think we might be done with our around the world stuff. I don't know. I can't say that with authority because I think I probably said that a couple weeks ago. So I'm really looking forward to where we go from here, because it seems like we're leaving Egghead very soon. We're just about ready to go. So
honestly, too, I was kind of happy they didn't reveal everything. I mean, even though I wanted to know everything, because I think it's still kind of like Robin's dream to uncover it. So I'm glad there's still something for her to kind of like figure out, because that's like what she is like going after. So I was like, okay, I want it, but for Robin's sake, I'll take this.
Yeah, that's sort of what my big takeaway, the sort of the big picture of this is like I can finally see a way off of this island. Like the elders are sort of distracted now with the Iron Giant and sort of taking it out. And it's really impressive the way that the elders were able to, even they were only able to knock it into the sea or whatever. But I wonder if that would even like there was the transponder snail is inside of it, but like we don't really understand what's animating it to move. So would it be able to move even in the ocean after it's been knocked in there? Like now that it's been activated, what actually animates it, and what are its limitations going forward? So I do wonder about the giant in particular, but I think Stephen and Greg during the SGS were talking about like what is the drama going to be with the Straw Hats when they arrive to Elbaf, and what's the possibility of like the people of Elbaf not being happy with them, or Prince Loki having a beef with the Straw Hats perhaps. So we sort of see like Kashi takes damage here, like he gets punched by Doll, and you're speculating perhaps that maybe one of the captains, Dory and Brogy, might get injured or might be killed. But with the elders turning their attention elsewhere, that seems the possibility of a clean escape seems more likely than it did maybe when Luffy was still getting chased by Mercury. So there's a lot of options there, but I really am sort of curious to see what the sort of the conflict of Elbaf is going to be. Like what would turn them possibly against the Straw Hats, or what other conflict there might be. But I just want to say I do love to see Zoro getting to be extremely cool. Like and as you were saying, Victoria, I think the team up aspect of it is really cool. Just to see them working together. I'm reminded every time of when on Thriller Bark everyone wanted to combine, but Robin was like, "No, I can't. It's not dignified."
Don't invite me to go docking.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah, I don't have that much else to add at this point. We'll get into the piece together. We'll take our fans' questions and comments. But I just love that, Egghead you can really get the sense of Egghead coming to a close here. And, there's nothing left. Like the island's in flames. The lab is destroyed. There's nothing really else for our characters here but to escape. So I think we're about ready to move on to the next thing. So why don't we get into some Piece Together? All right.
Cool.
All right. All right. So,
Oh yeah, Ed, you don't want me to share a screen, right?
yeah, it stopped me from recording once when I did that. If you could post them.
Oh, that's right. You put them in the Discord.
In the Discord, but I'll read off some. I'll read off some titles that I came up with. I don't have
too many. But
I don't necessarily have that many either. I have Peanut Man Hyo. I have Fonzie A, or just Fonzie. Society of Pearl Fans, Pearl Witch for Sale. That was a funny one, Steve. Drake's Mask of Hiding, or just the idea that Drake with his mask is, he can conceal his identity. Smoker's Oozing Coolness, Happy Father's Day Zoro, or Playing Catch with Zoro. Eric D. Cartman and D. Disgusting Brothers. So if you guys want to look in the Discord chat, Alan and
I'm gonna post in the Zoom.
Oh, in the Zoom chat. Okay. Oh yeah, because they display in line now.
They've made it better.
Yeah.
So give me.
So Steve's going to show you the sketches for the episode titles. How was Father's Day dinner, Alex?
Oh, it was great. We met my parents for lunch and had a lot of fish. We went to a Greek restaurant and they do whole fish there.
Nice.
So
nice.
It's just gonna send one of them 3 times.
And then we had Chipwich Pearl. There it is. That's good. Yeah, Pearl got a bit of an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And
I do like that one.
Steve, did you do a "Hey everybody, Pearl's back"?
No, I didn't. That's why I just exported the same drawing 3 different times.
We get it. You love Pearl. We get it.
Yeah, I do. Ooh. Hang tight.
What a cool thing, by the way, to have just like the Krieg pirates at Pirate Island just be like, oh, you know what? This is
we were talking about that here. You were talking about that. Like, it's nice that they really just had very bad luck meeting Mihawk on the first day in the Grand Line.
Yeah.
Turns out they were actually pretty strong.
Well, I also said I kind of feel like it was like maybe like the fans who really thought like Geen has to come back, right? Geen has to do something important. And I kind of feel like this is Oda like, hey, here they are, but I don't really have any major plans for them. So don't go nuts. All right, here's the other 2. One is obvious. The other one I thought like maybe it's a Q kind of.
Oh my god,
it's always funny the small characters that fans get really hyper fixated on, and then like conspiracy brain style convince themselves that something's going to happen.
Yeah,
because they want it to happen. They're like trying to will it into existence, and I'm like, what makes you think this character is going to come back in any meaningful way?
Carrot joining the crew.
Or go back to 15 years ago, Polly joining the crew.
Yeah.
Well, I think actually there was a little bit more.
I think it kind of like it was following the beats.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I gotta say, I want to go with the Zoro Father's Day playing.
That one's really good.
Playing catch with Zoro.
Thank you.
I like that one as well, and also I have to say that normally Jinbei looks like a Muppet as is, but he really looks like Rolf. Here. Oh no, Zoro! Gotta catch him.
All right, cool. All right, I'll do that. What are we gonna call it?
Happy Father's Day, Zoro.
Happy Father's Day, Zoro, or playing catch with Zoro.
Yeah,
father-son catch.
Yeah, Happy Father's Day, Zoro. I think is good.
Okay.
Let's go with that one.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Not Chipwich.
Well, we love it, and we know that, Yeah.
I mean, the credit goes to Steven. Alex, you missed it, but the credit goes to Steven for saying that.
That's good.
All right, I'm going to refill my water, and then we'll let's take like 2-3 minutes, and then we can start.
Okay.
We'll do a slate.
This This is the anime recap for episode 1108, Incomprehensible, The Seraphim's Rebellion. I'm your host, Sam, and today we have Ed.
Yay! Yes. Yeah, I like keeping on it, like being able to do the anime recap every week. Although it is interesting, it sort of showcases some of the faults of the anime more so. But it's good to be able to keep up with it every week.
Sure. This episode opens with, where the last episode left off, with the big flashy animation of S-Snake petrifying York, which continues a little bit further this week with S-Snake kicking the York statue over. Very kind of stubbornly. And then like slow walking menacingly towards our crew, like the Terminator.
Yeah, I think S-Snake gets the best character animation, I think, in this episode.
The way she's animated, the way that she's like presented in the opening, like the anime is really like setting her aside as being special for some reason.
Yeah. It might just be that the animators like animating her,
I guess. And the Vegapunk satellites in the room are wondering amongst themselves, Lilith and Edison, that is, they're wondering amongst themselves, why is S-Snake not obeying orders? Like, why is like the Vegapunks are supposed to have a pretty high level of authority, but for some reason something is overrating it, or a glitch is happening, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere, Zoro is thrilled to be fighting S-Hawk, who takes an unexpected slash towards the unconscious Kaku and Lucci, who are laying on the ground with their wrists cuffed, and Zoro, like, kind of last second panics and defends them. He's like, "Hey, asshole, your aim sucks. I'm over here." But then he has a moment of clarity where he's like, "Oh, unless I was being an arrogant jerk for thinking that I was your target."
Yeah.
And then Luffy and Shaka join the scene. Luffy is prepared to help fight, and Shaka, he puts his hand out. He's like, "All right, let me try." Seraphim, stop. And for a moment, it appears like it might work. They don't really do anything. They just they don't continue their attack.
I did kind of think it was weird that they just sort of stopped fighting like that. But
yeah, like they're just like waiting for Shaka to put his hand down.
Mm-hmm.
And so the moment that Zoro resheathes his swords, he trusts that the command has worked. But then they attack again.
Well, I guess he was just waiting for the correct opening. So
yeah, there's like two fights going on with like kind of big explosions, and they're sort of crossing into each other now. The Frankie and Usopp group, they're falling from the bridge. Just a very very close up shot of Frankie's crotch falling into the camera right before him and Lilith turn their jet boots on. Which Usopp forgets to do, so Usopp face plants.
He is kind of just like teabagging the camera, Frankie, like more so than usual. We do get some kind of lush animation of Lilith as well, but I guess that's to be expected.
And so they land. Usopp lands face first. They look up and they see the destroyed bridge where S-Snake is kind of hanging on the rail, kicking her feet, like, "Tee-hee, I'm a little scamp."
Is this where they had like the close-ups of like they do the close-ups on S-Snake's face, and it's very well animated, and showing lots of emotion with animation. But they like zoom out a couple of times, and like from a distance, like you can't see her face in any of the animation.
Well, so yeah, she kind of like free falls off the bridge to continue fighting them, and then there's like kind of a slow motion shot of her arms out, like she's like a little like Christmas tree angel.
Yeah.
And we're like kind of rotating around here, and then there's a close-up shot of her eye, which then match cuts to a close-up shot of S-Hawk's eye in the other fight.
But I just thought it was weird that like they kept showing like close-ups on her eyes, and also going back to that wide shot where there's clearly no detail drawn on her face at all, which like I don't know, maybe there's no way to make that look good, but it just kind of clanged for me.
And so S-Hawk is fighting. Shaka determines that it must be one of the Vegapunks who's commanding the Seraphim. Otherwise, they just would not be, doing what they're doing. And then this is where Lucci and Kaku kind of grumbly wake up and pick themselves up, and their backs are kind of turned to our crew, but they're speaking to Luffy and Zoro nonetheless, and they're like, "Hey, this is like super embarrassing and all, but what if we formed a temporary alliance? Like we clearly have a shared enemy. Let's team up for the time being." And there's some dramatic tension here as Lucci and Kaku don't get an answer. They look over the shoulder like, "Hey, did you hear us?" And then they see Luffy and Zoro just making their super dramatic, disgusted faces, a la the faces that the crew were making when they saw Luffy in the news in Wano.
It's actually more like, I think, like we saw that face a lot in Odin's flashback as well. Just like the Whitebeard is not happy about this. Yeah, he doesn't like that.
Yes, this is a thing now, I guess. This is the new Enaru face.
Or Perona face, a couple classics.
That brings us to the eye catch of the episode. We come back and there's like kind of a smattering of government agents who are inside the lab who, they're like the low-level grunts following CP0 onto the island who got rounded up and put in prison. And like there's for some reason like on one of the close-ups of like one of the tattered up guards, like there's specifically like a close-up of one of them has like kicked a shoe off and they just got like a hole in their big toe.
Yeah. So apparently they haven't properly eaten in 2 months. So these are like CP outfits or units that were sent to Egghead previously, and I guess the fact that they disappeared, that was the reason that CP0 was sent. It seems maybe.
Did they say something about 2 months?
Yeah, like they had been in there for a while. Like they kept sending Cypherpole units to Egghead to investigate, and they kept not coming back because they were being attacked like by the sea beast monsters, and then they were being held captive in the bottom of the lab here, which apparently Stella did not know about. So that was part of their little conversation here.
Yeah, and like so they had been suspecting that this was all Vegapunk, locking them up,
right.
But they're talking to a mysterious other stranger in the other corner of the cell, and the cell's like this kind of this bulby like lab chamber where like everyone's got like their handprints on the windows. Yeah,
it's all smeary. It's very greasy.
Yeah, it's like so they're talking to somebody else in the cell. They're like, "Oh, we thought it was you, Vegapunk, but clearly it wasn't. If our captor is also capturing you." And then dramatic reveal. This is where the old Vegapunk has been for the last few episodes. And Vegapunk starts to wonder out loud how the only reason this would be happening is if the government knew that Vegapunk was researching poneglyphs, and how could that information possibly leak to the government? And then elsewhere, we got Sentomaru, who's still recovering from his fight. He's surrounded by a bunch of Egghead civilians who are caring about him and tending to his wounds, and they're like, "What's going on?" And so Sentomaru explains, "Oh, hey, did you know that there was once this event on an island called Ohara?" And so the Sentomaru and the narrator give a little like recap of the Ohara incident once again.
I do have questions about the Egghead civilians. Like, they're not all robots, are they? Like, are these people who are hired to work on this island?
Some of them look like people. Some of them look like robots. Some of them, like, are they all researchers who are like working for Vegapunk? Do people? Right. Is there just like some people who just like live here and live normal lives like they would anywhere else? Or
yeah, that is a little odd. And it is. I mean, I wonder if any of them really would have known about Ohara. Like, if those are the
most people in the world don't.
Well, that's true. But like, if you're in an academic circle, maybe you knew somebody, or maybe you heard of the island. I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, so Sentomaru is anticipating that an even worse event could happen to Egghead. Mm-hmm. And then we're back to the Luffy room where there's just we're staying on the punchline of the grossed out faces, and the camera is just like doing these like almost like parody level smash cut close ups between all the relevant party members.
Yeah.
As we wait for somebody to break the tension. Doing the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, as though we'd actually believe that they would allow themselves to be cuffed again. That's pretty funny.
But before they can like really have a full conversation about this, S-Hawk interrupts and slashes, but with a bladed leg. And Zoro realizes that this S-Hawk also has the simulated Devil Fruit powers, and he's got Baldy's powers, the Mr. One's powers, the Dice Fruit. Which I'm shocked Zoro remembers the name of the fruit all these years later.
Yeah. This was very I don't know, there was a part where like Zoro grabs Luffy like by his collar right before he attacks, and I don't know, it just looked very well animated. This part in particular was I have my issues with the pacing in this episode, obviously. But doesn't mean that they weren't giving sort of their all on some of the animation here.
Mm-hmm. To be continued. And then the little Lilith and Edison scene after the credits is about Dracula Mihawk.
Mm-hmm.
General thoughts on this episode, Ed?
Not much happened.
You don't think so?
No, I don't know. I just feel like the characters, we're getting like one thing per episode. Like they were flung like the groups of characters. Like the ones got flung down by like S Snake, and they were just sort of, and then they were looking at her, and Zoro and Luffy get to do their banter with Lucci and Kaku, and that fight does look pretty cool, but it just doesn't seem like it seems like the story has been moving very slowly.
Yeah, the story's been moving slowly. We've kind of been in this general story beat for the last like 3 or 4 episodes. Mm-hmm. But I thought I thought the intrigue was good. I thought the story they had to work with was interesting enough to warrant an episode on its own like this. Like Vegapunk's locked in, and we're getting closer to correctly identifying who who's betraying the Vegapunks.
We're still deepening sort of the mystery here. We're getting closer to an answer. This is definitely an episode I think that would work better. Not sort of as a standalone. You gotta watch a few episodes at a time.
The CP0 potential team up is cool and funny. Mm-hmm. So that went a long way with me. The
animators definitely do love the Seraphim. I think they really are enjoying that so far.
Yeah, there's definitely like something, and like sometimes it's just in like brief cuts, like a 20-second segment of the episode will look really great, and the rest of it will look like solid. Yeah,
I mean, I think there's a lot of, I don't know, they put up a lot of emotion into like especially S Snake's face in this episode where they where they do those close-ups. That was pretty cool, and that match cut was also a very that was a nice little editing touch as well. I like that.
Yeah, I thought this was an all right episode. I enjoyed it for as small of a bite of the full story as it is.
Yeah, it was aight.
It was aight. Anything else you want to say before we move on to the next segment, Ed?
No, I'm all good.
All right, let's move on.
All right. This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, your comments, your theories, and go, hey. All right. Our first segment on the Piece Together this week is Disputes. Alex, take it away.
Put a sock in it, Roy. Reverse Eye Pearl says, "Hey, original Pearl posters. I'm soon to start a new job with the Postal Service, and that's one of the big services the One Piece world lacks. So my question is, which One Piece character would be the best at delivering mail, and who would be the worst? It's probably one of the D's, because each of them is a..."
Okay, there you go. Well, I guess, Morgan's really.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have a Birdman already.
Yeah.
They kind of have a postal service.
Well,
right?
Morgan seems to have a private postal service army of, like, birds that do his bidding and deliver the newspaper.
Yeah.
So what happens when you privatize the mail system, man? It's always going to just go to,
Get one newspaper.
Right. And a bunch of junk mail.
Who would be the worst?
Oh, it would be
Zoro.
Moria, Gecko Moria, because he's like, can't somebody else do it? 'Cause I guess that's just like the negative stereotype of postal workers.
Did they say a non-straw hat?
Oh, just
I
anybody.
forget.
Yeah.
Or the D's.
Which
or
One
something.
Piece
I'd say
character?
Moria would make the garbage men do it.
Actual, like, legit answer, I think Kuma, because I mean, he can use his abilities to teleport packages pretty easily to just anywhere, right?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. That would be.
I
that would
mean,
be good.
also depending on the limits of his power, Van Auger, I think, would be a good postman.
Just shooting mail at people.
Like he has, it's like a T-shirt gun, but it's a newspaper gun.
So it's basically Amazon quality delivery, yeah, where it's like they throw it in your backyard and break half the things you get, yeah.
But
So
same day.
Yeah.
Right? Monkey's paw curls.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
I think the worst would be Ace, because he's dead.
Oh,
He can't be delivering. Sorry, no. In all honesty, I think Gaimon would be the worst because he's stuck in a treasure box.
yeah.
I think worse is Zoro. I might have missed some of that question, but
That
he's
is a
getting
good-
lost and not
Yeah.
delivering anything. Like nothing is getting
Yeah.
to where it needs to go.
Absolutely.
that would-
According to the app, Zoro says my package has been delivered.
Meanwhile, it's in a completely different state.
Yeah.
Like, but I took a photo. Duilla of Cram says, "Ahoy OPP, banger chapter as always. I'm shaking my fist at Oda, teasing the D again. Ooh.
Hey.
But elsewise, had a great time. Interesting to see Nusjuro has Kitetsu. My question this week is, where in the new world is Smoker and what has he been up to? Wrong or right answers, whatever you want. Have a great week. Heart emoji with sparkles."
I've really sort of forgotten what what Smoker has done since Punk Hazard. Yeah.
I don't think he's. I mean, we haven't seen him literally since then.
We've seen him with Tashigi and the kids in like one chapter when they're on the way to Vegapunk, but
yeah.
that was
Before Wano,
The last,
probably,
really.
right?
I think that was before Wano. Yeah. Wrong answers only. He bought like a cool new crate on Facebook Marketplace, but he had to go pick it up. So
He bought a grand piano.
He's on Buy Nothing Grand Line.
Yeah, or he bought a 90s Taco Bell trash can. And he's hauling it back from New Jersey.
Yeah, you look.
Look like one of those Crash Bandicoot boxes.
Yeah.
Collecting those.
Oh man, if it's like a loot box, like
Doctor Who merchandise. Oh man.
or a loot crate, yeah.
cool.
He has the last remaining loot crate in the entire world. God.
All right, a Doctor Strange bottle opener.
45 NLs on the moon says, "Salutations OPP. That shot of Mont Blanc cricket got me thinking. The story of Nolan the Liar is spread far and wide across the One Piece world. Do you think the government had a hand in that? A story about a man claiming an island sunk beneath waves and getting called out as a complete liar for it. It's starting to sound a little bit like propaganda to me."
What is it?
I wouldn't say so. I think it's just I think the whole deal with the Nolan story is just how so much time has passed since then that, the truth, the actual truth has been lost in favor of the legend.
Mm-hmm. And there's also the sort of the legend of or the lesson of trying to appeal this king of these sort of corrupt leaders who they haven't seen anything and they don't believe the people who have seen things, and so this island's just gone and you're a liar and we're going to put you to death for it. So he's sort of a lesson of standing by your beliefs, or standing by at least what you saw. You can't convince anyone else because they're not willing to see, I suppose, or not willing to trust you.
I would say too, I think the truth was just a little hard to believe in general, so it wouldn't take much to convince people it wasn't true in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Skype and Jaya story arcs are really kind of awesome in that regard because, like that whole story, like it's bookended by Mocktown and everybody not even believing that the Sky Island existed.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of it, like, I don't know. God, what a complete and awesome story. Straw Hat Pirate 9 says, Oda! No one loves a slow burn more than this man, I swear. So that is obviously Pearl in the first panel of this chapter. Congrats to you, Steve. What caught my attention is that on the far right is Don Krieg, but more importantly, Geen. Let it be so. You think you can distract me from you teasing the D reveal, Oda, with Geen and his glorious new hair? Well, you can. But I'm still mad about it. Also mad with how Don Krieg looks, how good Don Krieg looks with his long hair.
It is
flowing.
Yeah,
we don't see that much detail. Like, let's get ahead of ourselves.
I don't know. Maybe
here.
he's getting 8 hours of sleep right now, and
yeah,
conditioning,
exercise in. Yeah, his skin looks way better.
Right. They went to the nearby Lush and got a whole regimen.
I mean, Don Krieg, I think, has always had that, like, well, when we see him, he's beat up and he's got like bandages around his head and stuff. But his wanted poster has the big locks.
Oh, so it is. Sorry, I said there was like a We Are animation mistake, but I forgot that it's actually on his poster.
Yeah. Hopkins Hat 15, as always, says, "Hey OPP, how it be?" Okay, so the Pumbaa Elder guy stopped the transmission. R.I.P. Pyramid Snail, but that doesn't mean the Iron Giant is dead. Do you think the Giant can still get back up and fight?
I sure hope so. I mean, it was activated by Luffy going Gear 5, right? So, yeah. And he's not. He disengaged. He used up his special meter. So there's a possibility that he could do it again, and maybe have a round 2 or something like that.
Yeah. Or maybe he'll unleash like a big super attack and be just the distraction that our heroes need to escape.
And
I mean,
go ahead.
They've been implying about the technology that ancient civilization had, that didn't they imply that they had potentially cracked the perpetual energy mystery that Vegapunk's been trying to solve this whole time? Am I wrong? I'm trying to remember from that chapter.
And they didn't state for sure, but he did say that, like, he was working on it and that he had managed to crack that mystery, and that also the ancient civilization was whatever 500 years but past where we are now, or whatever it was. So I mean, I think it's reasonable to draw a line between those two things, but I don't think he necessarily said that they had that. But I mean,
they're still operating with next level stuff, and that's this thing. Even though it's a relic, it's still like capable of probably more than what we think for an old beat up robot that's thousands of years or whatever. It's capable of.
And they knocked it into the water, or at least towards the ships, and as opposed to like towards the lab, where maybe the robot ends up coming in contact with the mother flame or something like that. That could be another possibility.
And it's also not even really clear what is going to happen with the lab. Like, Vinostro sliced it, but like it's still it's still hanging up there. But like, you'd have to think at some point, like, if they can't send more like clouds up, would it crash? Like, would it crash down to the ground?
Yeah, that's kind of part of my complaint about how that whole sequence worked, was like, I don't understand what this means. And all you need is one character to say like, oh well, if you don't do this, then it's going to come down, like Edison or whoever. But we haven't gotten that yet.
No,
there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
maybe clouds. Like, I'm looking at the Iron Giant. We're on the last chapter, or I'm sorry, the last page of the chapter, and I guess it's a cannon or exhaust or something like that coming out of its back. Maybe that can generate.
Maybe it can fly.
Weapons. Yeah.
It should be able to if it's that technically advanced. Some should be pretty.
But it's interesting that like it had the broken off horn. I guess it's something that Oda likes to draw, because I think Oars had that, and then like it happened on Onigashima, where that skull got the horn clipped off as well.
Right.
That's just a design element that he likes, I think.
Yeah. Sailor Karna is universal. says, "Hey OPP, it was great seeing Gin alive and well. Hopefully we get to see Kuro so we can say that every character has made at least 2 appearances in the story."
Boo.
I like Kuro. I think he'll show up again.
Yeah.
Are we not counting the chapter page art? Because I feel like has he shown up already there once or twice?
Never.
He hasn't?
No.
He's
shown up in the anime, but that was anime only.
Correct. Yeah.
He's off. He's off retired somewhere. He's the 401k pirate.
Yeah.
That's the crew I want to be part of.
He's probably bussing tables somewhere.
Yeah. His retirement plan didn't actually work out the way he thought it would.
Yeah.
No. He'll never live up to his mentor, Roth D IRA.
Yeah, he tried to do a get rich quick crypto scheme, and it did not work out for him. No.
Yeah.
Stuck with the K's instead of the D's.
Super Nintendo Chalmers says, "For this chapter, Oda was probably sitting in his bed with a notepad thinking, if only I could think up some of the Will of D, or if only I could think up of the Will of D, something that would really tie up the story. I must concentrate and work harder than I ever have." And then he promptly fell asleep. He goes on to dream about a meeting at the office where he's congratulated that his Will of D has made them all rich, especially him. It was simple and ingenious, and it fits in the palm of your hand. That every person in the world now owns a copy of One Piece, and in many cases 3 or 4. He cannot see it, however, as why he would need to see it, being the genius behind the will in question. Right before he sees the new ad campaign that would tease the reveal, he is woken by his wife as there is still a few minutes left before the usual bedtime.
Interesting.
I love this fan fiction.
Yeah. Isn't that like season 1 of Rick and Morty?
I think so.
I think that was a gag on Parks and Rec too, where like Leslie Knope needs to come up with an idea for the big project, and like she's like, I need to see the headline that's here's the thing on the ground that says this is where Leslie Knope came up with the idea for.
Oh right,
I thought that was going to work.
This is the This is after the when they do the Harvest Festival, and she has to come up with her next big idea so that she doesn't not a one and done.
They
I remember that correctly.
Bed and breakfast or something.
Yeah. She hadn't slept in like a week and a half or something like that at that point.
And today's final disc piece is from Wisdom Pythagoras, who says, "Hey OPP, the Krieg pirates have displaced Roshio as the characters with the longest stretch of chapters between appearances."
Roshio.
I didn't know someone was keeping count. Wow.
That's a fun statistic. There aren't too many characters left that could break that record now. Perhaps Kuro and Higuma? How would you like to see these fellas reincorporated into the story? Thanks, OPP.
Higuma's dead.
So what are we going to?
Higuma's dead.
Are we going to see like Higuma and a bunch of like sea beast like feces or something?
Yes. Higuma's dead, but didn't we see him in the Asabo Luffy flashback?
No.
Okay. If he were
that
to show up again,
that happened post the
yes
Shanks stuff and the Luffy eating the fruit. Remember?
Yes.
Yes,
it did.
Who? Sorry, what was the other character mentioned?
Kuro.
Higuma's dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sometimes would tell this story. I remember when I saw like an anime kind of illustration of like the Alabasta era crew with Crocodile and black shadows in the background, and I thought it was Higuma, and I'm like, oh, I guess that character comes back and becomes a major villain. Boy, glad I'm not writing this show.
Had we seen Boodle and Shushu in between the
Decks of the
buggy
World?
arc? Yeah,
Well, they were in the Decks of the
yes.
World.
They were. Okay.
Decks of the World. I think there was a recent one of the chapters recently. I think we actually were at Orangetown because he said like, "Oh, like quiet down, Shushu."
Yeah, because they were talking to a little girl about what Luffy's been up to when they were cutting to everybody. I remember being like, "Oh, he kept the dog. That's awesome." Because I just assumed the dog wandered off after that storyline. Like, I'm done with you people.
Yeah. Boodle and Shushu. Yeah, they showed up like what, five chapters ago maybe. Like right around the beginning of the.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like the gap between them and the original buggy arc. If that would have been longer still than the Krieg pirates, yeah. That was a real long time.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, now that I think now I see what you're asking. Yeah, because they've been in, Decks of the World stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe not in like an actual chapter. So.
Yeah, they opened the new pet food shop from the Decks of the World during Fishman Island, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was the first time since Buggy's cover story, apparently.
I guess it might be Kuro then.
Yeah. But who really wants to see him?
I do.
All right.
I think it'd be really fun if he it wouldn't be fun. Who cares? Let's go to the next thing.
No, they're all bussing tables like the Sargassum pirates from Venture Brothers.
Oh yeah.
Yar.
We were
Robin
we were pirates. Weez was free.
Robin Toys R Us cargo vessels.
All right, Steven, you said we had some questions from the subreddit Archipelago.
We do on our Reddit at reddit.com/r/One Piece podcast. Just 3 questions here. First one from Amiibo Hunter 000 who says, "Hey OPP, this one is probably just for Steve and Alex." Well, good thing they showed up. But anyone who is a fan of X-Men. How about that fastball special we got this chapter? I'd never thought we would see the parallel of Wolverine to Zoro, but I am all for it. Can't wait to see the debacle that will be Power Scalers comparing Sanji and Zoro's interactions with Baron v. Nostro. Great chapter. Keep up the great job.
That second half of that, I don't care. Really, the credit goes to Victoria, because Victoria's the one that brought up the Wolverine and like Colossus stuff during the manga recap, if I'm not mistaken.
Alan as well. We brought, brought up.
Alan, both
yeah.
We were all on the same page about that comparison. But yes, I don't know why it never occurred to me the connections between Zoro and Wolverine energy-wise, but it's been there the whole time.
Yeah, they're both really stinky.
The grumpy.
They're both grumpy. They both
they like to cut things.
One of the shortest characters in the series.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, short.
Oh wait, does that make Sanji the Cyclops of the group?
More of a Gambit, isn't he?
I'd say he's more Gambit.
I was mostly talking about their butting heads constantly thing, because it's like
I suppose so.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like there's not a 1-to-1 parallel here.
Yeah, but it's fun to try.
Right.
All right. One blasphemous dude says, "Hey OPP, first of all, Gin is back. He kept his promise after 1,050 chapters, or almost 26 years. Aside from that, what is that box Smoker is carrying behind his back? Supplies and or medicine for the sword members, or something else? Great chapter. Keep up the work." And for the listeners, thank you. Don't forget to rate the podcast and listen to the other Maji Media shows.
Absolutely.
Hey,
thank you.
That.
That's nice.
I think it's balloons for a party.
Yeah. How many times can we come up with ideas?
Smoker did a Costco run.
Oh, yeah.
It does kind of look like it's something encased in wax, like with Mr. Three's power, but that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
No, it looks like, I don't know what the hell.
It could be a poneglyph?
It's a boring answer, but it could be for the kids.
Yeah, like a 3D printed poneglyph that like a copy they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Jinbei is our beast. I'll say that.
There you go.
He's large, he's blue, he's smart. Yeah, fair enough.
True.
Also, shout out to Geen Nation. I didn't expect this. I did not know the Stan army existed this whole time. Clearly, I'm not plugged into the fandom hard enough to know about this very passionate Swiftie style fan base around him.
I remember when Duval.
There is shipping involving him, so.
Well, when Duval entered the story, I think people I was of this thought too, that maybe Duval's actually Don Krieg because he's a big dude and he's got a bone to pick with Sanji. And then it ended up being the funniest possible outcome. So
wound up being way better.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah,
I would like to tell a story. When we went to Japan 5 years ago, we did like these basic. So this sword class.
Oh
right?
yes.
Oh yeah.
I still follow that guy on Twitter.
Yeah, same.
He's we were talking with the instructor afterwards, and of course we have to mention like why we're there for One Piece, all that, and he was familiar. And then when asked about his favorite character, I just assumed like Zoro probably, right, and he said Gin. Gin was his favorite character, and this was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to that guy.
Yeah. I think it's also a thing of like he was probably a kid. He was probably like 12 or 13 years old, like when that first East Blue stuff was happening. So like that's the One Piece that lives in his heart from that era.
Yeah, and
Mine too.
there was always a Gin army for sure. Pearl army, never. No, nobody's ever held a torch.
Only Steve. It's only Steve.
A Pearl faction, I'll say.
Lone weirdo. No offense, Steve.
All right.
None taken.
It's interesting. I just want to take a moment to unpack why maybe people really have this soft spot for Gin. Why do we think this character is connected with people so much, given that he was barely in the story in the grand scheme of things? The only thing I can think of is just like Ed, I think you said earlier, the ship angle, but also just, is he one of the first sort of like low-level pirates that we meet that actually has like nuance and is like kind of a good person? I'm thinking that might be part of it.
Yeah, and then there's just the whole like the absence makes the heart grow fonder thing of like, well, he's showed everybody else from this era of the story, like why haven't we seen this guy yet who was more interesting than a lot of them and stuff.
And maybe I should double back what I was saying, like Oda doesn't have any plans, because if Oda really didn't have plans, like maybe we would have seen Gin on a Decks Around the World thing. So I'm really surprised he waited till now. So maybe there is, you never know. Maybe there are some plans.
He was just like, damn, I really wanted to see those guys in the live action show. I guess I got to draw them for once.
You also got to wonder if he's feeling very nostalgic at this point about his entire career and body of work, and like kind of reminiscing about these characters that he hasn't revisited in a while. So like trying to find ways to kind of revisit them in even a small fashion, just as a sort of a victory lap energy, which I could respect that. I mean, damn. If anybody earned it at this point, it'd be him. Yeah,
and I think he feels that like, well, there is actually no other place for them to go into the narrative at this point with what we, however many years of One Piece are left of the story.
But I got this big long speech going out to everybody in the world right now for 10 chapters.
Where's Inaru though? I want to see him hanging out on the moon more. Damn it.
We'll see.
Well, that was a big topic of discussion on the SGS last week of whether or not we are going to space.
Yes. All right. Last one on Reddit is from Bevelman910, who says, "Howdy OPP, longtime listener and first time poster. I apologize if this has been discussed, but ever since the Iron Giant's first activation and subsequent absences earlier in this arc, I've been trying to piece together, see what I did there, why it only showed up sporadically. We know that it activated by Luffy going Gear 5, but I believe it also powers down or becomes significantly less powerful when Luffy comes out of Gear 5. I haven't been able to confirm this by looking back at previous chapters, but I believe each time we found ourselves asking, well, where is the giant? In previous chapters, Luffy has been either temporarily out of commission or just not Gear 5. Since we saw Luffy out of Gear 5 this chapter, do you think that was a factor in the Elders being able to overcome the Iron Giant so easily? Am I overthinking things? Either way, y'all are the best, and thank you so much for all you do."
Well, thank you for saying that. But it's not really clear, is it? Like maybe he maybe he powers up, maybe he's got a battery of like Gear 5 power inside of him. But we don't really know. It hasn't been said.
Yeah, so I guess the real question will just be like, okay, is there going to be one last, like, are the Elders gonna come after them one last time before they can escape on the ship that will like incite Luffy to go Gear 5 one more time, and then and then the giant, maybe he does like Gear 5.1 or something, and just really like a next level thing that causes some more dramatic response from the giant or something. Could be.
Maybe does Luffy still have enough energy from eating that fermented shark? Like, what was that, 5?
I mean, that's got the super energy. Yeah.
Right. When the robot came back to life initially, was Luffy fighting any of the Elders at the time, or was it earlier in the story where he was fighting like Lucci? I'm trying to remember the sequence of events. Yeah,
because he does fight Lucci in Gear 5. Like that just happened in the anime a few weeks back.
Right.
But yeah, no, I don't think we didn't see the giant.
The Elder.
Yeah, it was when he was fighting. I don't think we saw that giant.
Because Zoro's fighting Lucci, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we have so many factors at play here. Like, we don't even really know what the elders are, how their powers work, or if they're related at all to the origins of the awakening with Gear 5 or any of that stuff. So like, it's just you drive yourself crazy trying to figure out where the dots connect with so little information at this point.
Yeah.
It also reminds me that Zao was also activated when Luffy turned into Gear 5. And
Oh
so
yeah,
I'm wondering
on Onigashima, right?
So I'm wondering if that just like activates certain
Mm-hmm.
things in general, but it could be like about who he's fighting too, like you said.
Like ancient things, like Zoe is an
Right.
ancient elephant
Zoe.
who apparently knew Joy Boy, the original.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you got ancient vibes, then yeah.
Yeah.
You get activated.
Yeah, actually, there's one thing I didn't single this out. Speaking of ancient things, there was that one scene in this chapter where Marcus Mars is he recognizes the Iron Giant. He says, "That's the Iron Giant that attacked Marijoa 200 years ago. I'm certain of it." And I don't know if anyone else picked up on this or if this comes through or not, but it definitely, like the way it was written in Japanese, and I tried to kind of get it across, it has the feeling of like he recognizes it. Like it's not like, oh, I think I know what that is. It kind of sounds like he's like, oh, I know I've seen that before. Like I remember that sort of a thing, which is a possible bit of evidence towards the elders being immortal or very, very old, way more than human age.
Which that's one thing I was wondering about. Like, does he recognize like, oh, that's that one of many possible giants? Like, but that's the one that attacked 200 years ago. If he's been alive as long as maybe it's been implied that he is alive, he's seen maybe more than one of them. And the one with the hacked off horn, that's the one that attacked and came back 200 years ago. We don't know that though. We just all speculation.
Maybe he's the one who hacked off the horn.
Right?
Yeah.
Could be Urvinustra with his sword.
So I guess that the elders probably aren't as old as the ancient kingdom at this point.
You never know,
Right.
yeah.
If they're human, I've thought we don't even know that that's true.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
yeah.
what they were saying, like what you were talking about, it was this the only Iron Giant, but like if they thought that, then they would have said, hey, it's an Iron Giant versus, hey, it's that thing that attacked Marijoa.
True.
And I feel like if there's more than one, they probably would know about it if they were that old. I don't know. A lot more questions.
Well, we do have a couple more. That's it for Reddit, right?
Yes, that's for Reddit.
Okay. So we do have a couple questions on Twitter, which means it's time for Peace the Tweet. Yeah. Peace the Tweet time. And both questions are kind of on the same topic, so I'll read them first and then we'll have a discussion. First one comes from Ice Pops, who says, now that Vegapunk's transmission has ended, why did it need to be a video transmission? Any thoughts? And
This could have been an email.
yeah.
People are more likely to watch a YouTube video than listen to a podcast.
I was gonna say he really cares about cinema and he really wants to like encourage this expansion of large screen experiences throughout the world there. So it's like, get with the times.
Was he Christopher Nolan?
No.
Sorry.
He's James Cameron with his
Right.
big screens in 3D.
60 frame per
This is
second,
the next
baby.
Avatar.
Yeah, exactly.
Vegapunk is quite old, and my parents always insist on FaceTiming me, always, and FaceTiming relatives while we're visiting them.
Yeah, and Vegapunk did make everyone watch him make coffee awkwardly for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So like that is an old person not knowing how to use technology kind of thing.
Oh, I would have thought it was a mukbang or something.
Barf.
Well, isn't it true that Zoomers, most of them get their news now through TikTok? So why not go live on TikTok?
How you get the most views. He does bow at some point. Maybe he wanted people to see how sorry he was. I don't know.
It's true.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Or maybe it was just the whole thing was just a commercial for Vega Coffee.
That's a better answer.
All right. One more question comes from Gabe Ruiz, who says, OPP, it's sad Oda denied us the D. I get not wanting to spoil Robin's dream with Vegapunk outright telling us, though. Did you like how Oda ultimately used Vegapunk's message as a story device? Was this the best possible use without spoiling the ancient history for us?
I mean, I know that there's been a lot, since we now seem to be at the end of the message. I definitely saw some people who were, probably people who were already a little bit frustrated by the method of of having this broken up over many chapters, and then it ends with a cliffhanger anyways. And I understand the frustration of that, but I do think that is also selling short all of the stuff that he was accomplishing, which is like there's a lot of action going on. It's happening while the the sort of escape drama is going on with all the other characters on the island. So he's doing a lot of action and getting a lot of that stuff out of the way without, bogging down like 3 chapters or so of just like pure exposition of just nonstop talking head. And I think he's too savvy to do that. And at the same time, it's a chance to, like we've been talking about, you get to see so many characters and old faces, and do the little victory lap, as Alan was saying, of revisiting the history that he's built in the series with all of these different characters and locales. And that stuff is not crucial to understanding the plot or moving the plot forward, but I think it's silly to say that it has no value. Like, I think it's very valuable to people who've been following the series for so long.
Well, and I also like the window that it showed into Vegapunk's window into his soul, kind of. Like he's this guy who has this genius brain and all this huge lab and all these inventions and all this, but he discovered something terrible, and now he's dead, and this is what was important to him, that he thought that the world should know it even after he was dead. And I like what that says sort of about him, because he is this conflicted figure. Like, Dragon scolded him for working with the government, obviously, because Dragon's working against the government, but he has things up in his brain like this is the Wind Rises of, once you invent something, do you really have any responsibility for what it causes? And he is living with that guilt right now because his mother flame powered the machine that destroyed an entire country, and he has to live with that guilt, and so he has to sort of purge that even after death. And it's an interesting window into the sort of the thought process of what Oda thinks as the thought process of genius, of someone who is far beyond but also has regrets.
Yeah, it's the Oppenheimer narrative, right? Or the characterization of the regret from the genius scientist, basically.
Yeah.
And,
also, let's just take a moment, like, if you're talking about plot development and stuff, like the fact that the elders are suddenly summoned out of a pentagram and are weird shadow creatures that they now have to deal with. It's like, to me, that's insane and huge to have this suddenly happen. So even if you don't get the answer, you get a lot of movement of the major players of this story so far, that makes this feel like a bigger deal than I think it would have otherwise, that they're willing to get involved and reveal a side of themselves and mask off in a way that they haven't before. That changes the entire what I think might happen going forward, and like what they're capable of and what motivates them as a result of this. So I don't get the answer to the mystery, but there's so much else we get new insight on, and I think is really exciting.
I think that's it for the piece together this week. So why don't we just round off the show?
All right.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 822 for the week of Monday, June 17, 2024. And I want to thank everyone, especially our special guests, for coming on this week. And I just want to sort of introduce them and where you can find them on the internet. So, Stephen, where can people find you?
Me. You can find me on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social, where I am continuing my reread of the series from the start. I am right in the middle of the Sabaudi archipelago right now, which is very fun. Just got to see Luffy punch Charlos in the face, which is awesome. And I completely forgot about Usopp butt slamming his dad, Charlos' dad, I should say, which is just as good, I would say. So yeah, every now and then I post a little picture or some joke from there. So if you want to see me, I talk about that stuff and also see pictures of my cat. You can do so on Blue Sky over there.
It's kind of the ideal social media feed: cat and One Piece.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
Perfect. Yeah.
So ideal, you think Captain Kuro would come back?
All right, Alan, where can people find you? And do you have any projects coming out or anything that's not NDA that you can talk about?
Oh yeah. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kenji Salk. That's my personal account. I also do marketing at a little game company called Mob Entertainment. So you can follow us at Mob Entertainment. We do basically a game similar in tone to Five Nights at Freddy's called Poppy Playtime that kids love. Oh my God, they love it. So I'm working on marketing stuff for that game. So yeah, anything that pops up over there in terms of marketing, that's me. So yeah, follow that, and me for mostly posted about One Piece, occasionally Delicious in Dungeon, because that's the other anime and manga I'm obsessed with. So but yeah, that's me.
Delicious in Dungeon is pretty good. I've watched the first half of the anime. Gotta finish that series now.
Pretty good.
Damn good.
It goes from silly cooking anime to pretty intense fantasy action show akin to Full Metal Alchemist in the back half. So if you think that evolution is compelling, definitely stick with it.
Yeah. The last thing I saw was like they all went to sleep after eating the dragon, and so.
Oh, that's when it starts to pop off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna watch all that at once.
I've also kind of lately been like comparing it to like FMA. I'm just getting similar vibes. Also, I think I might be convinced women write the best manga.
And you haven't even read Ranma.
I have not.
Ranma, Urusei Yatsura, Meizon Ikoku. So many great women manga artists.
Most of those titles are the same.
Yes, I know.
Hey, you know
Sailor
what?
Moon, Inuyasha, Full Metal.
Right. What more do you need?
All right. And Victoria, where can people find you? Where can people find the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast?
Yeah, so you can find me at Miss Old School. That's Old School with a K on Twitter and Instagram and Threads. Also, if you want to follow the podcast, it's at Moonies Club on Twitter, Moonies_Club on Instagram and Threads. And you can follow the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on YouTube, actually putting out new episodes this month, so super excited about that. And we're also throwing our second annual Sailor Moon Day Party on Usagi's birthday, June 30th in Brooklyn. So if you're around, definitely come and hang out with us.
Right on. Cool. And thank you all for coming on this week. Let's see. And Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at dude! All one word. And if you are interested in seeing me do some live art competition with Super Art Fight, I'll be there. I'll be doing Super Art Fight in Baltimore at the Autobar this Friday, June 21st at 8 p.m. So be there, or kindly be square.
And if you are going to be in the DC area on July 13th, Alex and I will both be at the One Piece concert, so I am definitely going.
Fabulous.
Yes. So, and Steve, where can people find you?
SteveYurko.com. Any social media at Steve Yurko that I'm using. Listen to my other podcast, 4Kids Flashback with Tara Sands. Check out ProZD Plays Games over on YouTube. And come find me at the Anime Expo Artist Alley. I-14 is my table number. I will be there all weekend. And Vero will be there too. So come say hey. And I think we'll also be going to the One Piece concert that weekend.
Is that down at the AX or in Hollywood where it was last year?
It's a few blocks away from the convention. So
okay, cool.
It's a different location than last year, but
right on. And for the podcast, you can find me, Edward E, on Blue Sky, Edward E One Piece on Twitter. And the podcast can be found at the new and improved OnePiecePodcast.com. Twitter.com/One Piece Podcast, One Piece Podcast on Blue Sky, YouTube.com/One Piece Podcast. We put our episodes up there as well. One Piece Podcast @gmail.com is our email address. You can subscribe on, or actually, please support us, patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. You can subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, or call us on our phone number. That's 347-497-MAJI.
Maji.
347-497-6254. Call anytime with your questions, your comments, your theories, and places where you can buy a Pearl Witch. Please let me know. So, thanks for listening to the show this week, everybody. So, for the One Piece Podcast, my name is Ed.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
And we'll see you next week, everybody. Goodbye.
The next podcast, there is a...
Perfect.
A Pearl Witch?
Yeah, there's a Pearl Witch.
I was like, oh, he froze right before he got to... Oh.